Woodward. We are starting off your day with a brand new crew. Meet Broder.
I can't control my arms sometimes. My limbs are just kind of flying.
Detroit Kool-Aid.
Fired up!
Y'all got Kool-Aid hot.
Fired up! But with the WUW WUW Crew, he's actually a part of the family.
Flannel Sam.
Ask me about my wiener. Okay.
Along with JB and KG. Wake Up Woodward gets you all of your Detroit sports talk. Every morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Live on Woodward Sports. A show for Detroit, by Detroit, with people from Detroit. Tell Siri to set an alarm. Because it's time to Wake Up Woodward.
Oh, the ride is over. And we're going to talk about it today. We are, I promise you, Detroit, pure Michigan, Lions fans everywhere, because we know you guys everywhere. Y'all showed out this year. We're going to talk about it in this little bit of therapy. But welcome back, my brother, our brother, WUW Crew, Woodward Sports Zone.
Oh, yeah.
Flannel Sam, Sam Reynolds, man. It's Wake Up Woodward live at Feldman Chevrolet of Novi. It is Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. We know that they're going to win again. So shout out to Feldman, man. It's your boy Brandon, a.k.a. Detroit Kool-Aid. Your credential Pistons reporter and writer for the network, Flannel Sam, the vet of the squad, the vet of the network. He is back right here, all sports knower, and clad in a Jameson Williams jersey. What up, though?
Yes, I pay my debts, and Jameson Williams did get 1,001 receiving yards. I'm sure you would have rather seen me in this jersey during victorious times, but,
Oh, man.
you know, I had to come back from my little absence to face the music. It would have been really easy for me to just be like, I'll extend it a couple of days and not have to deal with this. But the nature of what we do means that we got to be here in good times and in bad. And I would just like to thank you, Kool-Aid, and you, KG, and you, JB, for holding it down in my absence. I know, KG, you were working your ass off these last couple of weeks.
I got you.
So I owe you one.
No, it's all good, man. We a team.
Yep.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And you know what, Flannel?
Yeah.
Just welcome back again, bro.
Hey. Thank you.
It feels whole. It feels complete, man. It truly is. It's a brotherhood. That was the promise. Hey, bro, we'll hold it down for you. We wish that the Lions held it down a little bit more, but we're going to talk about that. They did lose to the Commanders, just to remind everybody again, 45-31 in the NFC Divisional playoff round. And we're going to talk about it. You and I, we talked yesterday. We were like, yo, we need the therapy. But I do have to ask this question of the day. Does this season cast more or less doubts on this regime winning a Super Bowl at some point?
Whew.
Chad family, I need your participation too. We got KG in the building, Detroit's #1 draft pick. We also got JB Smooth. Stick is in the building. The defender of one, Jared Goff.
He ain't going to stop either. Y'all thought he was going to stop.
I just want fair treatment. You talk about golf, you talk about Lamar Jackson.
Hey,
We're going to get into it.
Hey, talk about Detroit.
It wasn't no Lamar.
Talk about Detroit. Talk about the DMV.
Yeah. How about Mark Andrews catch a fucking 2-point conversion? How about that?
That's wild. But you know what?
You don't fumble the ball.
Yeah.
Well, you can say the same about Mark Andrews, too.
Yeah. I'm trying to tell you.
But real quick, hey, you know what? It's a couple things today, man. Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Yep.
Hey, happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For everything that it meant. Detroit and Michigan, come together. I want Jared Goff and Detroit basketball chants back to back, man.
Yeah, man.
But it's also, is it Inauguration Day?
It is.
It is.
Unfortunately.
It is.
KG's having a rough one.
Hey, I could care less, to be real. But don't expect me to be peaceful today. That shit ain't happening, so.
Hey.
Oh, you got the alcohol on the brother. That's what we doing? That's how we starting the morning? Oh, okay, bet. I am not peaceful today.
So we got the question of the day going. We also going to talk about these initial KG is just looking at me, dog, like, we're going to talk about our initial reactions. And
I'm on my Malcolm X today. No disrespect. I'm on my Malcolm X time today.
And we also got to face the music. There were things that we stated yesterday, statements we put out there.
Yep.
We're going to face that music, and then we're going to get into the show where we got a lot planned, man. It's a lot on this docket today. We got to talk about, are there any positive takeaways? It's a season of failure. I know you wanted to, KG, talk about the fans that are talking about same old Lions is back because it came roaring back, for lack of a better pun. What went wrong, man? How much of it was Jaden Daniels special, man? I was like, he can't put up a Josh Allen type performance. He put up a Josh Allen type performance.
Yeah.
And how much of it was on the Lions? And who's most to blame?
Man, there is so much to get into.
There's so much.
And that's the thing. I think when we have a situation like this, when it's very complicated. The legacy of this team is a very complicated one. It's not necessarily black and white. So a lot of what I'm going to say in my way of processing it may seem contradictory at times, but I think it's just a case of many things can be true. That's what it is.
Thank you, Sam.
Dominant
Thank
regular
you.
season, the likes of which we've never seen, and then such a disappointing playoff flame out. But there's reasons behind it. But there's also things that the Lions did that were just unacceptable. There's so much to get into, and as much as I don't want to do this show, there's a part of me that's kind of excited that we get a chance to talk about it. As much as I want to tuck my tail and hide and just get away from sports media altogether, we can't do that.
Maybe, you know what, it's symbolic that you're back on this day because Flannel did say, he was like, Kool-Aid, listen, please excuse me. Trust me, I'm hurt to the core, but excuse me if I'm there and I'm smiling. Back around the crew and all that type of stuff. Honestly, that's what it's about. We do understand what this team will be in the future, and we'll have a lot to break that down. But goodness gracious, we got a lot to talk about today. You know, KG, man, just your initial reaction on what went down. Obviously, we got to face some of this music as well. And then does this cast any more or less doubt on what you believe this regime will accomplish Super Bowl-wise?
Ultimately, no. And let's just state for the record that thank God we had a day to decompress in between that loss and you know, being in here today because yesterday I was tore up, man. And shout out to the wifey. She gave me the comfort that I needed to get back right. But no, I mean, I'm not afraid to face the music, and I want to state for the record that you got to give credit to the Washington Commanders.
Yep.
Like, I'm not going to come in here and try to act like, you know, they didn't play well or, you know, it was just all Lions and they just, you know, were nothing. They came here with a damn good game plan. You got to give Dan Quinn credit. They killed us on 3rd and 4th down. Jaden Daniels was doing whatever the hell Jaden Daniels wanted to do, dropping passes in the bucket. And I just think that this is multifaceted. So for everybody listening today, I urge that you don't get locked into one opinion or the other because this thing is a little bit multifaceted. Two things can be true. The Lions had a great season, and we're all appreciative of the season that they had, but they are so good now. They are to the point that a season like this, that ends like this, is a failure. And we don't get to get out of Super Bowl or bust just because, you know, things didn't go our way. We all said it from the preseason on, and it wasn't just us. It was the organization as well, from up top down to the players. So for everything that they did well this season, that night was not a night to have your worst game of the year.
Nah, not at all. Not at all. You know, especially coming off of the bye week and everything. You know what? One thing I did want to address is the fans on both sides. It's this conflation of like, oh, you guys needed to be humbled. First of all, the Lions have been one of the classiest organizations from that standpoint. You listen to what the Lions themselves, the coaches, the players are saying about the Commanders before the game. They were very, very respectful of the Commanders. But fans, talking about fans be humble? No, that's what fans are supposed to do. We're supposed to be at the top of our lungs. One thing I know I'm going to do is tip the cap to all Detroit Lions fans because you know what? The season tickets went up and they didn't flinch. They followed this team all over the map. They continued to make Ford Field a weapon all season long. What they're supposed to do is go out there and believe in their team to the utmost. So I'm not going to tell them, oh, they're supposed to be humble. After you lose, hey, you know what? Tip the cap. Like you said already, man. Tip the cap. Hey, Commanders, they had a great game plan. And they went out there and they executed and they took advantage of the miscues. That's the recipe.
They kicked our ass. Bro.
They did.
They kicked our ass.
But we handed it to them as well.
Yeah.
Literally. Quite literally with 5 turnovers. And that's where it's just like, you know what? Yeah. When you're in a position where you're the Lions and you earned the ability at 15-2 and you have overcome all that adversity, we get the right and the opportunity when you're buying the jerseys, Flannel Sam, when you're selling out, when you're Nick, tailgate always wins. He's following his team all around. I don't know how much money that costs. So, yes, their job is to go out there and make sure that they inject as much enthusiasm and hype and one pride that they can into this a whole Detroit Lions season, and they did that. They had the right to be able to go out there and do that, man. So, shout out to One Pride. I want to tip the cap to them, but watch the Commanders fans. Hey, have your day. Have your day.
Absolutely. But for anybody telling us we need to be humble as fans and shit, that's one thing I'm really getting sick of, bro. Like, they won 15 games and had the #1 seed for the first time ever. How the fuck am I supposed to feel? Are we serious here? Like, we have every right to go in there and be as confident as we were. Now, the Washington Commanders, they came in the Ford Field and they handled business, and that's okay. But if you think that anything that we say or do was going to affect, like if we were to come in here and tuck our tails all week, do you think that would have affected how they played on the field? Like, I'm sick of that narrative right there, man. Like, miss me with that. We can be as confident as we want to be when our team is performing. You call it cockiness. I call it setting my football team to a certain standard. That's the standard that they're at now.
And they earned that, though.
Thank you.
What I will say, though, is this.
And the Commanders earned our respect now. That's it. They earned it.
I was going to say that all of that, I really like your guys' passions. And us as fans, we saw something in the regular season that we've never seen before. Even last year, there was 12 wins. They weren't the 1 seed. This year, it was 15-2 despite all of the injuries. They defied the odds. They got the 1 seed and all of that. On a day like today, though, I just have to endure the Commanders' shit talk and just take it. And here's why. And this is where I'm going to be a little bit traitorous against my own network. So call me Benedict Arnold if you want. If you look at this past week, and I'm not saying that you guys as hosts, because I wasn't here, was trying to do this, but you look at some of the YouTube videos that came out. I'll read you some of the titles. Why the Detroit Lions will dominate the Washington Commanders. Delusional Washington Commanders fans think they'll defeat the Detroit
Shout
Lions.
out Noah.
Jaden Daniels is great, but has no chance versus Detroit Lions. Washington Commanders are no threat to the Detroit Lions. Here's why. I personally, that's not the way that I want to be. I've always been somebody, and don't get me wrong, I talk crap myself about players who I don't think are any good. But I've always prided myself in being somebody who gave the proper respect to the opponents. And I just think if you're a Commanders fan and you read stuff like that, you have the right to be like, ha, 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 and we just have to take it.
No, they have the right to do that. I don't got to take nothing, though. I will talk what I got to talk, and I'll be on it. I'm going to be on 100 for my team because they earned that. I don't give any Fs. Commanders fans, Packers fans, Vikings fans, I don't care who you are. My team earned it. You beat a team that had 22 on the IR. It's not an excuse, but that is the reality of it. We went into that game, and we were on 100 because of everything they accomplished up until that point. The whole catchy and clickbait titles and all that, that's in everybody's content, including people watching right now. So I don't care about that.
And we don't
I did believe, I will say that, I did believe we were going to go and dominate them. The Commanders earned that respect. And so now the next time we line up, it's going to be a different level of what we take to it. If the Packers would have beat us, then maybe they could do something. Xavier McKinney, afterwards going in subtweeting and all of that, but still not attaching names. I'm glad that Brian Branch and Kirby went and quoted him like, bro, we see you. You talking about us, then say it. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm glad that they're on that type of energy, and I'm still going to be on that because I know exactly who the Lions are going to be day one starting next year. I already know what it is. That's why we bring these things. That's why. The season, it is a disappointment. The season is a failure. But in terms of being like a broken fan and, I just got to take it from the Commanders fans. No, Commanders, I congratulate you. But if you guys want to be like, if y'all want to be tricky about it, though, heck no, man. Don't come up here like, y'all need to be humble. And now y'all acting the way that you said we were the next week. I'm not going to respect that. Just is what it is.
And Kool-Aid, when over that week did we come in here and say that Jaden Daniels was a bona fide scrub?
I picked them as offensive rookie of the year, and for them to be a playoff dark horse from the beginning of the season, and I said that all year long.
We did not disrespect. We gave all respect to the Washington Commanders, but on the same token, we also said that the Detroit Lions are better. And if you go back, you watch this game, you would realize that the Lions shot themselves in the foot a lot of times in this game. Not to say that, the Washington Commanders just weren't good enough, but the Detroit Lions had every opportunity, and they had everything they needed in that game to win. They just did not execute. But by no means did we come in here and disrespect the Commanders. The Lions were the better team. They were supposed to be the better team. They just did not show up on that day. So it is what it is.
You know what? We got a lot to talk about. I see Stick and JB over here. What up, though, y'all?
Nothing. We were just joking.
I want to throw in a little clip. You didn't disrespect the Commanders, but Neil Rule is going to have some fun at about 11.
Yeah, Neil. And just so people do know, there are 4 shows on this network.
Exactly.
There's this one, then there's Big D Energy, then there is Ermanni and Edwards, and then the heavyweights. We gave the Commanders a lot of respect, but in terms of the Pep Riley show, we always going to be on one. And I did believe we were going to win the way that we saw the Commanders win. I did. I believe that. We didn't, and they won. And I'm going to say congratulations to them again, like we did immediately after the game.
Yep.
You can find all of that type of stuff if you want to see the receipts. In terms of just laying down and all, no.
Yeah.
Being humble, say, look, you guys did it. Go out there and win now. Keep winning. This whole notion of, we're playing with just house money and then now trying to act all ho. No. If you're playing with house money before, then be happy that you got a treat and get waxed in the next round. Otherwise, be a big boy team, Commanders, and go out there and do something in the next round. That's it right now. Jaden Daniels is special. The Commanders have earned my respect. That's
I'm not even mad at the Commanders fans. I'm mad at our fans. I'm mad at the fans that want to hold us back because we believe in our team. I think that's garbage, man. They have given us everything this year to believe in them, man. So the fact that they didn't go out there and get it done, that's one thing. But I'm not going to hold my fandom back because, you feel we're being too cocky. Like, fuck all that, man. Like, I'm not with that part of it. Commanders do what they want. They came in the Ford Field. They shut us up. That's what I was saying all week. You want us to shut up, come in the Ford Field and do it. We got to shut up.
Bro, like, trust me, man. I lived in the DMV from 17 to 25, still got family there, became a man there, went to college there, all that. Y'all know the stories. Like, it is what it is. I know what this means for them. Yeah. You better believe I'm here. I've heard it from over 100 different people already as it relates to what just happened in this game. And they deserve it, man. Even my cousin, he said he was at my cousin Juan, who be texting in sometimes. He even texted me and told me about it. He said, I watched it out at Arundel Mills, and there were over 300 Commanders fans versus 10 of us Lions fans. So it was bad. Trust me, we were behind enemy lines, and it was bad. Commanders fans, hey, tip of the cap to you guys. You won. You won. And I do. I get the what you're talking about, the kind of the nuance in it with, like, our fans. I'm still on 100 about our team. Yeah, I am. But now the Commanders, they're a team that does now have to become taken as a serious threat in the NFC, something that they weren't to start this year.
Oh, absolutely. There's many layers to what the Commanders did, how they reshaped their team in just one offseason, how they've changed the narrative from the Daniel Snyder disaster years to what they are now. And it goes even farther beyond Jaden Daniels, although Jaden Daniels is a big part of it, and he is the best rookie quarterback ever. I think he cemented that with what happened at Ford Field. But JB, where are we going with the breaks? Planet Fitness,
work it out.
Where your fitness is essential, where I'm going to have to work out some of these pains, maybe channel my football pain into a more ripped physique. Maybe I can do that. Let's put some positivity into that. And all of you Lions fans can do that as well, because at Planet Fitness, you can get the cheapest memberships for only $15 a month, or you can upgrade to the Black Card, which gives you access to all Planet Fitnesses across the world. And it's the New Year's. I hope that you guys haven't already given up on your New Year's resolutions, but if you haven't, hopefully getting in better physical health and condition is for you, so you should go to Planet Fitness. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Walk into any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men today. Open 7 days a week. Sit back, relax, and enjoy precision haircut, scalp massage, hot leather neck shave, and hot towel treatment from one of our talented stylists. Step up your game this season and take advantage of our $20 haircut special. Scan the QR code and get your coupon today. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, the ultimate haircut experience. Open 7 days a week. Walk-ins always welcome. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. It's wicked awesome.
No one gives away more cash and prizes than Woodward Sports. You don't believe us? Here's our latest $10,000 winner.
You guys posted, hey, if you guess all this stuff right, we'll give it's $10,000. I'm like, okay, well, why the hell not?
And the winning doesn't stop there. How about our Outkick Your Coverage winner?
I think you won. We got Tully, everybody. David Tully. This guy's got a hot girl.
Bigger prizes, bigger giveaways, cash, merch, tickets, and more. All from the biggest sports network in Detroit. No one does it bigger and better than Woodward Sports. Make sure you're following, liking, subscribing on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube for your chances to share in the winning. From Detroit's #1 sports network, Woodward Sports.
Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer, is kicking off the game with the best prices on all cars, trucks, and SUVs, like this 2024 Silverado for just $296 a month, or this 2025 Equinox for as low as $371 a month. Our locations in Novi, Highland, New Hudson, Livonia, and Lansing means we have the perfect Chevy right in your backyard. Get the home team advantage every day at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
The most talked about Detroit media by other Detroit media, and we love it. It's the Woodward Sports Network.
Hey, listen, you know what? Oh, echo. All right, there we go.
I got you.
Hey, you know what? Fuel your Detroit sports fandom, including the Lions rage now that they've lost, with Sabbath Coffee. It's the ultimate experience when you're talking about coffee, when you're talking about getting your morning started, when you're talking about kicking off your day with the WUW Crew and all of Woodward Sports. And what you guys got to do is make sure you get over to SabbathCoffeeRoasters.com. Use code Woodward to get 25% off your first subscription order. Awake and wine, and hey, listen, support local Sabbath Coffee Roasters. Hey, what up, though, people? Welcome back to Wake Up Woodward. We are live at Feldman Chevrolet of Novi. It is Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. And I know some people are looking for Neil as well, Flannel. It's your boy,
Wrong
Brandon, a.k.a. Detroit Kool-Aid, the Credential Pistons reporting writer for the network. Flannel Sam, Wings correspondent, all sports knower, and you know what? Respecter of the Commanders. I see the colors. I see this.
Oh, okay.
Hey, but we're back, man. We got KG on the ones and twos, Detroit's #1 draft pick, a.k.a. Black Hollywood. And we got JB Smooth, Woodward Sports MVP. And Woodward Sports Godfather Stick is in the building. He's making sure that he is rightfully defending Jared Goff, man, against the slander. But listen, we gotta get into this next segment, because I gotta ask the question: is this season a failure? Because you talk about these fans, they're saying that some are saying same old Lions is back, and I also want to know, I guess towards the end of the conversation, if there's any initial positive takeaways or if it's too soon. But Flannel, just gotta start with you, man.
Yes, it is, and I want to be very clear. There is a reason that we're going to get into later that I believe that they were never going to win the Super Bowl. And I think it's pretty obvious, but I'll leave it unsaid for now. That being said, this was a 15-2 team. They were able to withstand everything, get a 1 seed, have the #1 scoring offense in the NFL, and then you lose in the divisional round to a wild card team by double digits while turning the ball over 5 times. That's unacceptable. If we want to, throughout the season, compare ourselves to the Chiefs and talk about and get really angry at me when I put them #1 on my power rankings, when we talk about our scoring differential versus theirs, then we're a big boy organization. We're a Super Bowl or bust organization. And when you do not succeed in that mission, you by definition have failed. And I think we all should be willing to just wear this one on the chin. I'm not saying that their Super Bowl window is over. I'm not saying that they're never going to get another chance again, but this season specifically was a failure, and it was an absolute gut punch for me because you had a potential 2 home playoff games, and then you're in the Super Bowl. But instead, you go out like you did, just unacceptable.
That was unacceptable, and I'm glad that KG as well as you guys have both kind of reiterated this point. It's in my notes as well. There is no excuse for this. There isn't. No. The injuries is not one. This team, they showed what they were capable of last year with overcoming the injuries. They showed what they were capable of this year with overcoming the injuries. But the injuries also factor into why, you know what, if you want to put this in a vacuum, every season that you don't win the championship, when you have expectations, I have to call a failure. But it's also why I'm not as broken, because I understand what this team can be next year. And I say can be instead of will be. Last offseason, I said will be. And remember, at the beginning of the season, I was like, man, there ain't nothing that can stop this team. And then as we continue to go on, I was like, you know what? What if they get someone we knocked on with some injuries? And so that's where I'm at with this thing right now. I do believe in what this team can be in the future, especially when they start to get guys back like Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil. Alexander Zeloni completely healthy. And you go through a draft cycle where I'm hoping it's defense. But in terms of this one season, I've seen some fans out there, they're like, no, man, you can't see this was a failure. I believe that it was a failure. They went out there and they laid an egg as a #1 seed with the bye week. And it came from, realistically, in my opinion, your leaders.
Yeah.
Your leaders, your coaches, your coordinators, and your quarterback. So, you know what? You have to say this is a failure, but I see you over there, KG, man. That coffee, is it done?
No. I need that this morning. Absolutely, man. But, no, y'all said it perfect, bro. This is a failure and a disappointment. And, you know, this is more so from the fact that the Lions are so good now. We should actually be a little bit happy in the fact that we can sit up here and talk about a team that is so good, to the fact that not winning a Super Bowl is the ultimate, thumbs down to your season. That's the waters that we're in now. If you want to be up there with the big dogs like the Chiefs, like the Ravens, like the Bills, guess what? All of their paths, they needed to end with a Super Bowl in order for them to be validated. And now the Lions are in those waters because they've been so good for so long now. But with that being said, I mean, we all knew the injuries. That was going to be the instant fallback. And I'm just not in that camp.
I'm pushing back on that. Don't.
I'm not in that camp because you found a way to make it work with the injuries all year long. This Lions team has not been healthy from week 1 of this season throughout the whole year. And yes, it did get worse at a certain point, but ultimately, like I said, you had everything you needed in order to win that game. Some people want to blame it on, it was the bye. I can't blame it on that either. The Lions had a bye coming into that Cowboys game, and they played some of the best football we'd ever seen. And guess what? Next year, the Lions' mission is going to be get the number 1 seed and have home field advantage again. So the bye, you got to find ways to win through the bye. Like that, I'm not ready to put that, that loss on that either. So there's no real excuses. Like you guys said, they just came out flat. They did not execute, and we have to live with that for an entire calendar year now, that they just were not good enough.
Well, and that's the thing. If we're talking about this game specifically, I get that it's still a failure by definition if they lose in the NFC Championship game, if they lose in the Super Bowl, but the fact that it was the divisional round, injuries, the way that the Lions were decimated was something in terms of winning the Super Bowl that is almost impossible to overcome. There's almost no precedent for something like this, and we'll get into that more later. However, in this divisional round, you got to win that game. In my opinion, with how the Lions have looked, regardless of the injuries, going 15-2, you can't lose home playoff games. No. You just can't do it. And you certainly can't lose home playoff games to wildcard teams. And I understand, Jaden Daniels, the conversations we're going to have to start having about him are just insane for a rookie. Like I said, best rookie quarterback ever. We're talking about a lot of the other things that the Commanders have done with their roster, with the acquisitions of guys like Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner and drafting Mikey Sanderstill and all of that.
Credit and Sanderstill, boy.
Absolutely.
Golly.
Jeremy Chin, too. Credit to the Washington Commanders. I think that they were always going to be better than their expectations were for them at the beginning of the season. However, if you lose, if you go one and done as a 1 seed, no matter who you are, no matter what team you are, it is always 100% of the time a failure.
Especially
by
with
definition.
What we were saying just the week before. And they got healthier. Going into that game. Yep. So I'm so glad, like, as a crew, that's where kind of the narrative is with us. There is absolutely no excuse to be made with the injuries at all. There is no excuse. There are reasons why they lost, and injuries aren't going to be one of them. The only ones we can talk about are ones that happen in the game. I do believe that losing Amik Robertson early in the game, I don't know what type of mojo that casts over the entire team when you see something like that. But I hope that he's okay. I know that he had to have surgery. He was rushed to the hospital and had surgery on, I believe it was the humerus, effectively the funny bone. But, yeah, there is no excuse to be made as it relates to the injuries. This is how you have to win in the football in the National Football League.
Right.
Last year they had some injuries, and you know what? They weren't even like the most banged-up team going into the playoffs last year. There were teams that had some pretty crazy injuries going into the playoffs, like the 49ers last year, and they made it to the championship game against the Lions, still banged up, and made it to the Super Bowl. We've seen teams do this, and so – I know this. If part of your longevity plan, if you're Brad Holmes, is building for long-term success, then you also have to make sure that depth is there all the way around. Because I'm seeing players from other teams that were able to step in and step up and be serviceable for their squads, like we did have certain players. Muhammad is one of those guys that really stepped up and impressed me this year. But overall, no, there's no excuse. Like, the Commanders came in. They handled business. They looked like a team that was just about their business, man. It looked professional. It looked concise. Everything that they were doing, and they were there to take advantage of every single miscue, man. Like, it looked like the players were running the routes. When I looked at the interception, Sanders still was running routes. He was right next to the wide receiver. Like, it was like they knew. They had, because someone I saw a couple people online, really a lot of people, because we took some polls, and they believed it was just utter, like, well, we just kind of, when I said handed it to them, I meant turnovers 5, but not that they didn't go out there and earn those turnovers.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, yeah, there's no excuse, man. They had a game plan. Dan Quinn, he gets to, he gets to ride the wheelbarrow out of town.
Yeah, and the Lions got beat, with their own game plan. What the Washington Commanders did is what we see the Lions do to plenty of teams. We really lost this game, not just on the turnovers, but it was on 3rd and 4th down. We could do absolutely nothing with them on 3rd and 4th down, and you got the game that you got because of that.
Flano, got a question for you.
Yeah.
How much did that loss look like the Bills won?
I mean, here's the one difference, though.
Yeah.
They didn't turn the ball over against the Bills.
Yeah.
They
looked better against the Bills.
They looked better against the Bills.
After the first quarter, they looked way better against the Bills.
I think the biggest difference between the Bills game and the Commanders game is that, and this is where I think I am the most fair human being on planet Earth when it comes to Jared Goff. I give Jared Goff no blame for what happened against the Bills because he did his job. I give him a big share of the blame for what happened in the divisional round playoff game, and
don't say that too loud.
I know we'll get into that. We'll get into that more.
Yeah, not dealing with stick shit today.
That was like against the Bills. They played relatively clean. I know that they got off to a poor start offensively, but they ended up getting 42 points and didn't turn the ball over. And Josh Allen was just immaculate that day. I mean, Jaden Daniels was immaculate this day too. But you should not be. There should be a law against winning a football game when you lose the turnover battle 5-0. You can't win.
Yeah.
Like literally, as Michael Jackson says as the fucking scarecrow in The Wiz, you can't win. You can't win.
Flannel,
you can't win.
You definitely shrink your chances.
Yes.
You definitely shrink your chances. And it's one thing in the regular season to get away with that against a Texans team that is talented, but you surrender 5 turnovers, you come back to win that game. That's one thing. But in the playoffs, turnovers are at a premium, and you just cannot go in there and turn the ball over 5 times, man. You cannot do that.
Hey, I see you, DC, all day in the chat, man. Says 26 is a dog. Man, your name remind me of a dude that I used to do a lot of club stuff with in DC called Dre All Day. I used to be out there, man. I don't think the Commanders fans, y'all in the chat, I don't think y'all know. I was in the trenches when y'all wasn't in the trenches, man. Chris Paul, Huggy Lowdown, all of the Redskins music back in the day, Hell to the Redskins and all of that stuff, man. Come on, man. Tone P, what y'all know about Tone P, the producer? So it's like, shout out to my DC and my DMV folk, man. Hey, look up Chris Paul so you guys can go back and celebrate to some of those old Commander songs. You will hear your boy on there, man. So we can break bread. I understand, but I'm still going to be pissy, dog. It hurts. It hurts. I'll be vulnerable from that standpoint, but I'm still on one. And, we got to talk about what exactly went wrong, bro.
Yeah.
We got to talk about what went wrong, and we got to figure out how much of this was Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
That was a preseason pick of Offensive Rookie of the Year. And he looks like a very soon-to-be NFL MVP, man.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. JB Smooth, what friends we got to say hello to?
Hey, Mark White is going to do you right. Even though that is not the slogan, it's something that Easy made up. But Mark White, you know what? If you're looking to buy or sell a home, Mark White, they're the people that he's who you should go with. He will pay up to $5,000 of your closing costs, which is a huge deal. So if you want to get his services, call the number, visit markwhitesells.com, and get yourself a new home.
Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer, is kicking off the game with the best prices on all cars, trucks, and SUVs, like this 2024 Silverado for just $296 a month, or this 2025 Equinox for as low as $371 a month. Our locations in Novi, Highland, New Hudson, Livonia, and Lansing means we have the perfect Chevy right in your backyard. Get the home team advantage every day at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
Big injuries, big news. Twice a week, Dr. Jeff Pierce from Michigan Sports and Spine joins Woodward Sports Network for the Injury Insider Report. Big D Energy Tuesdays at noon, and Ermanni and Edwards with Maz Thursdays at 3:30. Get expert analysis and in-depth breakdowns on the latest sports injuries from the man trusted by top athletes in the community, like D-Mac. Whether it's the Lions, Pistons, Tigers, or Red Wings, Dr. Pierce talks us through it all. Don't miss the Injury Insider Report with Dr. Jeff Pierce Pierce, your go-to source for understanding the impact of injuries on the games and players we love. Only on Woodward Sports Network. Scan the QR code on the screen or go to MichiganSportsandSpine.com to see if Dr. Jeff Pierce can help you.
How do people feel about getting a Planet Fitness membership for $15 a month? How do they like working out in a clean and spacious gym that's filled with equipment for every workout? And how about free fitness training in the judgment-free zone that leaves them feeling energized all day long? Join Planet Fitness today with the free PF app, online or in club, and start getting that big fitness energy for $15 a month.
Attention sports fans. I got to tell you guys about Dr. Jeff Pierce of Michigan Sports and Spine. He is the medical director there, and he's also our injury insider. You can catch him every week on Tuesday, Big D Energy, and on Thursday, Ermanni and Edwards, where he's offering top-notch injury advice. He was able to break down and keep us updated on all of the Lions' injuries, including being ahead of it as it related to David Montgomery and his return. He was also, and I know he's going to have another update on Jaden Ivey, who's still out and should be getting reevaluated in here in a couple weeks for what the rehab process will be ahead. So tap in with Dr. Jeff Pierce at MichiganSportsandSpine.com, as well as right here on Woodward Sports Network. Hey, what up, though, people? Welcome back. It is Wake Up Woodward. Appreciate you guys for kicking off the day with the WUW Crew. Tip of the cap and congratulations to the Commanders fans. I see you all in the chats. I saw Brian Hendricks, too. He said, I have no idea what Kool-Aid is talking about. Just for a little bit more background, because we played some of the music that I used to work on with the Tom Joyner Morning Show, which was based in D.C. I used to work at that radio station, and there was a comedian in the area by the name of Chris Paul and Huggy Lowdown that did skits and segments on there. They also did the 10 Commandments, the 10 Redskins Commandments, and all those types of songs and mixtapes and such. I wound up working on it, won a bet, and they started putting me on songs after the Lions beat them a long time ago. So this one does hit a little bit different, but I wanted to make sure I added some context. But we're here, and we got to talk about now what went wrong. And Flannel, look, I had a litany of things, man. Like Ford Field and the fans were rocking, but Jaden Daniels was just on another level. Like the cool, calm, collected, he didn't look shaken on any level. And this VR thing, I feel like an old head because I be trying to resist it as long as I can. But now I'm just like, can we all get VR? Because I hear that was like the success. Like he was like, yo, I'm training with VR, and supposedly that helps him in these types of environments. I have things like Jared Goff. We already know if Jared Goff don't play a clean game, that's going to put the Lions under the rest. Things like the defense having no answer, the coaching staff, Ben Johnson, some questionable play calling in some big situations or moments. Yeah. And the Lions were supposed to be the team that was poised to win if this thing was a shootout. But there's so much that fell flat. I thought Aaron Glenn was going to have a masterclass, and he just didn't, brother.
Well, here's the thing. The Lions, there's no excuse for what happened. If I were to break it down why the Lions lost the most, first off, you have to give credit to Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, but I'll go into more detail on that in a second. The reality is it's not just that the Lions lost the turnover battle 5-0. It's when and how those turnovers happen. The first one, 3rd and 1 at the Commanders' 17-yard line with a chance to go up 14-3. They call a pass play. Jared Goff fumbles. Dorrance Armstrong forces it, and then the Commanders go down and score 10-7. The second one was that pick six, which they were down 17-14. That puts the Commanders up 24-14. And from that moment forward, the Lions were playing from behind the rest of the bleeping ball game. And what really exacerbated that was what happened before halftime. You were down 31-21. It was 1st and 10 at the Commanders' 29. At that point, I think we're all thinking, we're going to get some points out of this. We're going to, at worst, go into half down 7. But Jared Goff throws it into the end zone, intended for Jamison Williams. That gets intercepted, and there at halftime, it's a 10-point ball game. That is not a recipe to win. It's a 10-point ball game. The Commanders get the ball first. They didn't score, but from that moment forward, when the Lions made it 31-28, the Commanders went out and scored. And then when the Lions were trying to make a drive to cut the lead to at best 3 and at worst 7, they call this ludicrous-ass reverse pass to Jamison Williams was throwing. Jamison Williams, at no part in his football career starting with high school, has ever been a quarterback. There are numerous NFL position players that were high school quarterbacks
Josh
at one
Pascal
point.
was a quarterback. He told us that. Even he was. But never J-Mo. Why?
Jamison Williams isn't one of them. He was a high school receiver, he was a college receiver, and he's an NFL receiver. And I'm somebody who is not shy about criticizing Jamison Williams when I think he deserves it. I think what Ben Johnson did, what the coaching staff did, putting Jamison Williams in that position was disgraceful. Jamison Williams should not be throwing a football. He is not used to that. He's not a quarterback. He doesn't have that wherewithal to just throw it away. He feels like he needs to make a play, and there was no play to be made. I understand that Jared Goff had not been having a good game. In fact, he'd been having a horrible game. But you got to live and die with what Jared Goff does. You can't be throwing passes with Jamison Williams. So when all is said and done, if the Lions don't turn the ball over 5 times, they win. But they did.
Yep.
And
you're
it's
right.
not acceptable.
Those first 2 turnovers were 14-point swings, man.
Yes.
Those that's huge. When you think about it, it wasn't like it was a turnover and the defense stood on its head like we've seen them do time and time and time again. But this was a situation where how can you expect them? We talked about this. You got to limit the opportunities of a Jaden Daniels. We said that before the game. And we believe that this offense under the expertise and the guidance and the leadership of an MVP candidate and of Jared Goff, we thought that they could do that. A guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, who was running all over the place, we thought he could do that. I thought that the play calling was balanced, but last night maybe it needed to be skewed more towards let Jahmyr Gibbs do work, and I'm hoping that this is something as they're moving forward. I know a lot of people talk about, well, if Ben Johnson leaves, what's going to happen with Jared Goff? Well, if Jahmyr Gibbs can do what he can do, whether it's Jared Goff or Teddy Bridgewater handing him the ball, then I don't care who's offensive coordinator as long as they understand that.
Yep.
So, because he's special. He's special. That's what I got out of last night. Jaden Daniels is definitely special. But Jahmyr Gibbs took a step forward, too, and I think when you talk about what went wrong last night, that's definitely part of it. And it was weird to hear Tom Brady, and he was right, talk about, just kind of the intrinsic things, like the Ford Field for the first time that he's heard that they've been on this run, get just taken out of the game in the first half. And it backs up a lot of what you were talking about. The air just got let out of their cells so early in the game based on their own miscues. It wasn't just because Jaden Daniels was super special. Because we were making miscues.
You picked a really bad day to have your one game of the season where you were really turnover prone at home. Of course, we know the Texans game, it was on the road, they got away with it. But this one in the playoffs, as I said in the previous segment, if you lose the turnover battle 5-0 in the playoffs, I don't care who you're facing. You could be playing, obviously this team isn't in the playoffs, you could be playing the Raiders and you're still vulnerable. That's just the nature of the NFL. And like I said, how many points were directly taken off the board because of turnovers? How many points did we directly give to the Commanders? We know that. 7. It's not acceptable. And when you look at just a cross comparison across the NFL and what happened really briefly, every single team that won their divisional round game, their quarterback, whether it was Jaden Daniels, who was immaculate, whether it was Josh Allen, who actually played more like a game manager, whether it was Jalen Hurts, who had a good run himself and relied more on Saquon Barkley, or whether it was Patrick Mahomes, who also played more like a game manager, they all played clean. Mm-hmm. The teams that lost, like the Lions, like the Rams who fumbled twice, like the Texans who had all kinds of special teams miscues, did not play clean. Mm-hmm. That's honestly one of the biggest recipes when it comes to winning football games. Don't turn the football over and force turnovers. And that is not what the Lions did.
No, because what they did with the turnovers is allow the Commanders to go and honestly beat the Lions with their own recipe. Yeah. Honestly, beat the Lions with the recipe that the Commanders have been cooking up all season. The one thing we know, and I know that a lot of the new people here, they're not going to know this trend, but we've been stating all season from back when, because Martin Mayhew, and the fact that they did take another person from our front office. They did want Ben Johnson. They talked about the mold that they were building their team. They weren't shy about that. We looked at their arc all season and stated, well, look at them go. And they came in here and they were ready to go. The level of aggression they had on defense to make up for a lot of their what we thought would be deficiencies. Marshawn Lattimore was not a deficiency, man. We know what Jahmyr Gibbs did, but for some reason, it didn't matter if they weren't a team that could stop the run effectively. It just didn't matter on that night.
Well, that's the thing. You look at Jaden Daniels, he was amazing, but Brian Robinson Jr. had a great game on the ground.
They just
15
couldn't tackle him.
carries, 77 yards, 2 touchdowns. Austin Eckler had 88 yards from scrimmage, including that big 35-yard run on the drive that really iced the game, put them up 45-28. But one thing I want to point out when you look at the Washington Commanders, because I think they need credit for this. I hinted at it earlier, but I really want to get into the weeds with it as briefly as I possibly can. They had one of the greatest under-the-radar off seasons that you will ever see from an NFL team. And a lot of these moves weren't even flashy. Was hiring Dan Quinn really like a flashy, sexy move? I mean, he'd been to a Super Bowl, but he
not
choked
at the time.
Right, he choked in the Super Bowl, and he had some time as the Cowboys' defensive coordinator. He comes in, he's done a great job. They hire Cliff Kingsbury as an offensive coordinator, who, in my opinion, had become a little bit radioactive because of what he did as a head coach. He's done a great job with Jaden Daniels. They drafted Jaden Daniels. He has the best rookie season ever. They acquire Austin Eckler. He has a little bit of an injury-prone season, but he makes plays, and in the big game, he shows up. They drafted Mikey Sanderstill, 2 interceptions. They acquired Jeremy Chin, interception, led the team in tackles. They acquired Dorrance Armstrong, 2 sacks, including a strip sack that's recovered by, I believe, Frankie Louvu. They acquired Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu, 2 second-team All-Pro linebackers. They acquired Dante Fowler Jr., 10.5 sacks. And to top it all off, they acquired Zach Ertz, who was done. He finished last season as basically a veteran, almost like afterthought, just as a veteran leader who got no playing time. But this season, second on the Commanders in receiving yards, second on the team in touchdowns. He caught a touchdown pass in the game, and he also recovered that onside kick, which looked like the Lions might actually have a chance. But he, as somebody who has made big plays in big games, dove and got the ball. The Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels deserves a ton of credit for what he's done, but it is far more than just Jaden Daniels. They had an organizational overhaul, the likes of which I'm not going to say we've never seen, but in terms of production versus what we thought of these acquisitions, I'm not going to say that it's Moneyball, but it's like, who expected Dorrance Armstrong and Jeremy Chin and even somebody like Bobby Wagner at this stage to be as impactful as Zach Ertz? It's incredible what they've done.
Man, golly. And it's like hearing it like that. Yeah. It's still like, no, the Lions, they still had dogs too. And that's the thing. It's just like when you hear it back like that, that's what really, really hurts.
Yeah.
When you think about the turnovers, and we handed it to them, but they earned it. Mikey Sanderstill's 2 interceptions, especially the one in the back of the end zone. That one was tough.
It's a lot. Yeah. And I know we still got to get to the what to blame segment, but I think blame goes across the board. Like, as much as people want to just put Jared Goff's name on it, this isn't 100% Jared Goff's fault. Did he have a large share of it? Sure. But I think you got to blame everybody. I think you got to blame Dan at the top. I think you got to blame AG, because the defense in this game just was almost non-existent. And one thing we were worried about was Jaden Daniels' legs. Well, Jaden Daniels had 3.5 yards of carry on 16 attempts. He didn't kill you with his legs. He killed you with his arm. And, there were times where this defense were kind of caught out of position. There were times where, the 12 men on the field penalty, that was really where the game just went south for the Lions. And I understand you're trying to get the guys off the field, but AG or Dan Campbell, you have to call a timeout in that situation. It's 4th and 2. Do you imagine the momentum the Lions get if they get a stop right there with a chance to take the lead going back the other way? Like, that was unforgivable to me, that 4th and 2, 12 men on the field, and just no pass rush all night, and you add all that up, and Jaden Daniels just absolutely picked you apart. He went to work. You spoke to the turnovers on offense, and that is a huge part of it. But they also damn near outgained you on the ground. They had 182 rushing yards on the ground. And you're looking at, Brian Robinson Jr., 5.1 yards a carry. Austin Eckler, 7.2 yards per carry. Like, they absolutely killed you on the ground, and that's an area where the Lions normally have great success at. So there's a lot of blame to go around. Ben Johnson, the play calling, as you mentioned, in certain situations, that J-Mo reverse pass was unforgivable. You absolutely cannot call that pass in that situation.
Hold on, because you spitting. And I know Flannel wants to go, and I got to go too. Because the next segment is that.
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It's
a lot. All the blame goes around, man.
That's what I'm saying. And I want to break it way down because we got several things that we got to talk about. Mitten Maid actually just put in the chat what we got to talk about next. AG and Ben too busy interviewing. NFL needs to change the interviews to after the Super Bowl.
Okay, guys, we gotta stop that shit too.
But no, that's what I'm saying. It's in a group of things. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What's most to blame? So we can obviously talk about AG and Ben Johnson in the next segment. We got to get to Jared Goff, who he says, hey, look, I thought about it. If I don't have these turnovers, do we win this game? And then Dan Campbell, who also stepped to the podium and said it's his fault. So we got the next 2 or 3 segments. We're going to break it down. We're going to get down to at least the bottom of who we feel is most to blame. But what friends you want us to say hello to, JB Smooth? Hey, you know what? At Lady Jane's, they take the chore out of getting a haircut. And right now, the best way to have a pick-me-up, going ahead and get that fresh shave, get that hot towel lather treatment, and the hot towel treatment as well. All of that type of stuff at Lady Jane's, man. Get fit, get fresh, get cut, and you already know that their talented hairstylists are going to treat you right. All this at Lady Jane's Haircuts. It's wicked awesome. Walk in anytime.
How do people feel about getting a Planet Fitness membership for $15 a month? How do they like working out in the clean and spacious gym that's filled with equipment for every workout? And how about free fitness training in the judgment-free zone that leaves them feeling energized all day long? Join Planet Fitness today with the free PF app, online or in club, and start getting that big fitness energy for $15 a month.
The draft experience was shitty.
My high school dating experience was shitty.
I can tell you all 16 receivers and where they went to college.
I can tell you every girl that put me in the friend zone, every girl that shot me down, what grade it was, and what she said to me. Sarah Williams, freshman year at a house party, says, quote, I want to be single. Got a boyfriend the next day. Beth Samuel, junior year, I got benched during a football game. Afterwards, she came up to me and said, I want to date a starter. Kelsey McFarland, 10th grade. I took her to dinner, paid for dinner, and she told me I was the best guy friend
I've ever had.
Rachel Fletcher, took her to a party with my friend. She said, I like you,
but I like your friend better.
That was in 12th grade. Emily Westfall, senior year. I asked her to go to prom with me. She said, quote, sorry, I already have a date. She didn't even go to prom. Tanya Allen, Heather Talbert, Lindsay Turner, Leslie Frazier. It's okay, though, because now here I am working at Woodward Sports. They all got fat after high school, and the only thing I want back are my hoodies.
Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer, is kicking off the game with the best prices on all cars, trucks, and SUVs, like this 2024 Silverado for just $296 a month, or this 2025 Equinox for as low as $371 a month. Our locations in Novi, Highland, New Hudson, Livonia, and Lansing means we have the perfect Chevy right in your backyard. Get the home team advantage every day at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
Hey, Soroki's Crispy Chicken and Pizza. There are locations all around Metro Detroit. So if you are in Metro Detroit, you are probably within driving distance to a Soroki's. They've got great pizza. They've got fried chicken, chicken tenders, biscuits,
Sounds
wings,
like lunch, bro.
Potato wedges, anything that you could possibly want. And you know they're located inside gas stations, so you can get everything done while you are getting your Soroki's lunch as well. So stop into a Soroki's and support them and Woodward Sports today.
Hey, what up, though, people? Welcome back. It is Wake Up Woodward, live at Feldman Chevrolet of Novi, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealership. They've been winning since 2019, and they're going to win again this year as well, Flannel Sam. I know you got the personal experience here with them, but welcome back, guys. Go ahead and smash that like button to support the WUW Crew, to support Woodward Sports, including you, rival fans. You guys are here, right? Because it means something. Go ahead and hit that like button. to support. Congratulations again to the Washington Commanders who did take down our Detroit Lions. All we can do is tip the cap. Jaden Daniels looks special. They had the game plan, and you know what? Yep. They are a healthy organization moving forward that I believe is going to, have an opportunity in this NFC to kind of shake some things up. I feel like their organization might be a little bit more they might be a little bit more impervious to kind of that second-year flu that the Texans got. But we shall see. But Mitten May says, AG and Ben, just to bring this up, they're too busy with interviews. NFL needs to change the interviews to after the Super Bowl. And I did have some polls here, man, as well, because we asked the people if they were, blaming this on that. And you know what? A whole bunch of them believe it. In droves. 67% out of so far almost 3,000 people, and it's counting, and there's a whole rack of comments. 67% people, 67% of the people polled believe that the interviews were a huge issue for AG and for Ben Johnson.
Well, I want to start with AG because there's a point that I've been teasing at that I really want to bring up, and it has something to do with Aaron Glenn. Do I think Aaron Glenn called his best game? No. Do I think he got a little bit stubborn and he didn't adjust as well as I would have liked him to? Yes. However, the biggest reason why the defense struggled was not because of Aaron Glenn. It's because, and I don't want to do this because people are going to get mad at me. This is a thought that I've always had, and I've voiced it at times, and I've looked stupid about it at times because of how well the Lions handled it in the regular season. When and if and when the Lions hoist the Lombardi Trophy, one of the biggest reasons why they will do it is because of Aiden Hutchinson. They were never going to win the Super Bowl without Aiden Hutchinson. People forget, when he went down with injury, he was the runaway favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. He was putting up numbers that were so mind-boggling that even 5 or 6 weeks later, he was near the top at pressure stats and even sack stats. It was absolutely unbelievable. If you were to isolate just this season, I'm not talking about all-encompassing, I'm talking about this season, you could make an argument that when Aiden Hutchinson went down, he was the best overall player in the NFL. You were never going to overcome that to win a Super Bowl. Should you have still won that game? Yes. Do I think that the Lions would have won that game with Aiden Hutchinson while still committing 5 turnovers? No. But Aiden would have been there to provide that pressure, to maybe get Jaden Daniels on the ground for a sack at least one time. And would you compound that with Carlton Davis, your best corner, being out, and Aleem McNeil, an interior defensive lineman who the Lions paid, who was playing the best ball of his life, out, your ceiling was always going to be limited. So to me, Aaron Glenn did not have that Super Bowl level defense. He didn't have the ingredients, and it wasn't his fault. It was because the injury gods boned us this year. That's a factor. I'm not making excuses. It just is what it is. They did not have all of the horses. This is not something that is typical. All teams get injuries. But the Lions' IR list was a lot longer than other teams. We were asking the Lions to do something that is damn near unprecedented. Have we seen teams win Super Bowls with backup quarterbacks? Yes, that's hard to overcome, of course. Yeah. Have we seen teams win Super Bowls or a team win Super Bowl with multiple players on the IR, like 15, 16? Yes, the 2010 Packers. But it's very, very rare. The defense was never going to be good enough to win them a Super Bowl anyway. But that being said, they still should have beat the Commanders.
For me personally, I do believe, and I got to stay consistent with it because it's what I've been saying all year, I do believe that they had enough to win. But you had to make sure that you did these components like play clean football. You had to make sure that Aaron Glenn was showing up with the masterclass defense because that's what they had to do. And his claim to this fame, he went from being questioned to being one of the top posts of the year when he was being praised at the Pistons game, all because of the fact that this team was not just overcoming, but they were doing it at an elite level. And so that's the expectation. That's what I expected going into the Commanders game, and that's whoever's looking at him as head coach, that's what they expect too. And so for that team to have that type of a letdown, and I do want to make sure that I couple this the right way because the offense did them no favors. 5 turnovers means you are going to potentially see Jaden Daniels 5 more times. Now, it worked out to where it was 3 consequential times. One of them was a pick 6, and the other one was at the end of the game when it didn't really matter. So the other 3 was in the heart of the battle. And so I don't want to sit here and act like it was just all Aaron Glenn because largely they contained him on the run. We knew Jaden Daniels, if he could use his mobility to at least buy time for his arm, that it was special. And it just didn't seem like sometimes these guys were in the right spot. It seemed like in Baldinger, Brian Baldinger, Baldy broke this down as well, that the Commanders were just prepared for all of the blitz packages. How we talk about how Aaron Glenn is able to disguise it, they said that when they looked at Jaden Daniels, they could tell he knew what was coming, and he knew exactly who was going to be open. And that's why he was just so cool, calm, collected, and knew exactly where to run, and then boom, laser. And so it's just like, goodness gracious, I can't, I'm going to tip the cap and say good job to those guys, but that's where I do believe this is going to be something a little bit more on Aaron Glenn than anything else. And yes, I get what you mean about the injuries. That's what I say. Factor, yes, if you're healthy, yeah. But for me personally, I had this team still expected to win a Super Bowl. I had this team at least expected to get there with all of the injuries that they had, because this was the makeup of the squad. And I do accept now going into next year that this is going to be the makeup of this team anyway. You got to be able to get it out the mud. You have to be able to overcome your losses.
Yes, and I respect that, and I don't think Aaron Glenn had his best day, regardless of the personnel that wasn't available to him. And I see a few people in the chat think that I'm making excuses. Well, listen to what I'm about to say now, because there was still...
Hey, hold on. Just to be fair, y'all, yes. Because our homie Flannel, our brother here, who's really like the vet of the network here, he took off a couple weeks, and that's the one thing. If he was able before to be able to put his statements on wax, it would be more succinct with what he's saying right now.
Sure.
Like us, that's why I put statements out there.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity. That's why I'm going to answer to those things. But I know the way that he thinks and the way he puts things out there, and that's why he's saying what he's saying right now.
Yes, and I want to get to the Ben Johnson angle of all because we're talking about interviews, whether it affected them. My point with all of this is that I don't think Aaron Glenn was the biggest reason that the defense struggled, and I don't think Ben Johnson was the biggest reason why the offense struggled. Was that Jamison Williams reverse pass a ludicrous call that didn't work? Yes. Should they have run the ball more even when they were behind by 10 and 3? Absolutely they should have. Jahmyr Gibbs was the best player on the field for the Lions. Jamison Williams, that actual call, that 60-plus yard reverse was unbelievable, and it was called at the right time with Teddy Bridgewater in the game. They should have continued to run the football because the Commanders couldn't stop that. That being said, the biggest problem with the offense is that Jared Goff choked. He choked in the playoffs. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I'm not even. It's reality. Let me just tell you this. Jared Goff had the best regular season of his career, to the point where we were talking about him as one of the top 3 MVP candidates. Second in passing yards, second in completion percentage, second in yards per attempt, fourth in touchdown passes, sixth in QBR, and second in passer rating. And he goes into this divisional round playoff game and lays an egg. You can't make excuses for that. 3 interceptions, 1 lost fumble, 4 turnovers. His regular season passer rating was 112, and his passer rating in this game was 60. His regular season QBR was 69. This playoff game, it was 41. And honestly, Jared Goff going into next year, I believe, has some allegations that he has to answer for. He has to make this up to his team somehow, because he has such a dominant regular season that we expected him to come up bigger in the biggest moment, and he choked and he came up small. It is what it is.
Following
we need to have
clean playoff run last year.
And that's the thing. And this is where, again, I am the most fair person in the entirety of planet Earth when it comes to Jared Goff. I give him no blame for what happened in last year's playoffs because he did his job. In the NFC Championship game last year, you can point to the Josh Reynolds drops. You can point to the Jahmyr Gibbs fumble. You can point to the secondary not being good enough, for which Kendall Vildor is kind of the poster child for. Hell, you can even point to Aiden Hutchinson wasn't as good in the NFC Championship game as he was in the previous 2 rounds. But Jared Goff did his job. This year, Jared Goff did not do his job. We were used to him for the most part, besides for 1 game at Houston, playing clean football. And I still believe that if he plays clean, which we are often accustomed to him doing, they still win. Mm-hmm. But he choked. He choked in the playoffs. It's not something that's unique to Goff. It's a tale as old as time when it comes to quarterbacks. The playoffs are hard, but that's not an excuse. The offense was relatively healthy, and he didn't do his job.
He choked hard. And you know what? I want to be able to have that be the expectation for Jared Goff because we also say that he's in the MVP conversation. Yes. The national media said that too, and he's supposed to be somebody that can elevate your team above some of your issues, and that's a large part of why I thought this team still has Super Bowl expectations. That offensive line was largely there. Jared Goff is supposed to be the cerebral, mistake-free, pretty clean football type guy. And the reason why I want to be able to hold him accountable for that is because next year I'm going to hold him to that standard just as I know he's going to hold himself to that standard. He knows he's supposed to play clean. He understands what he means to this team. And I get Penei Sewell saying, nah, man, like is messed up for the people who are putting this loss on Jared Goff. He was more than the only one out there. Yeah. And that's where a little bit, yes, he choked and he has to take that responsibility. But I don't believe Ben Johnson with the game plan really helped him out. Some of those play calls were in some of the most critical moments. And up to that point, the most crucial drive of the game, they took the ball out of his hands. You can't do that. And he was on a heater. You can't do that. And that's where, I start to look at Ben Johnson a little bit more because there's been other times, and it's tough because this offense was humming all season. What do you expect him to be perfect? Well, we had come to understand and know that that's how this version of the Lions team was winning. Goff had to be perfect a lot. Ben Johnson had to call the perfect play calls. And that's when you have that many injuries, that's what they had to do. And when you prove you can do that, that's what we expect. When you are in MVP conversations, when you are in head coaching conversations, that's what we expect. And it looked anything like that in this game.
It was just, as I said before, it was a bad day for Jared Goff to have one of his worst moments. It was a bad day for Ben Johnson to really not call his best game. It's unfortunate. And like I said at the beginning, I think that this team was largely boned by the injury gods. And I don't think that there's anything controversial in saying that. Aiden Hutchinson, Carlton Davis, and Ali McNeil, you can argue, were 3 out of your 5 best defensive players, with Aiden Hutchinson being maybe the best defensive player in the entire bleeping league. There's a variety of reasons that they lost, and I don't believe that it falls on Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson doing interviews. I'm not saying it helped.
No, not at all.
I'm just saying that there's other factors.
We're talking about fucking virtual interviews that are 1 to 2 hours max. Like, come on, it's the NFL, bro. This is part of the life cycle in the NFL, and a lot of teams go through this. So I just don't – trying to use that as an excuse is weak to me. Like, you got to learn how life is in the NFL, man. That's what it is.
That's the thing. That's why we put it on there because obviously some of what we're going to talk is also about the trends out there. And a lot of people are out there believing that these interviews really, really, really had something to do with it. I do not believe that at all.
That's almost disrespectful to Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn to say that a 2-hour interview literally is the reason they went out there and had a bad game plan. Like, that's disrespectful to them, man. They are above a 2-hour fucking interview. Like, that's not affecting all of what happened on that game day. I'm sorry.
Not at all, man. Not at all. And that's where you know what? When we talk about Aaron Glenn, at least, if we had a pie chart, because we got Aaron Glenn, we got Ben Johnson, there's Dan Campbell, there's Jared Goff. These are your leaders who pretty much stepped up in some regard and said that they needed to be better. Dan Campbell said that in certain big moments of that game that he felt his team and didn't have them in the right position. I think he was asked specifically about that. Why didn't you call it? He's like, it was me. Because you could have just called the timeout, man. Man, I don't know why. I just got flashbacks of when – what's the name, threw the flag. And I was like, no, there's automatic replay. You can't do that. It's just Jim Schwartz. And then it's just, goodness gracious. That's just that's what it was. Uncharacteristic mistake. And I do believe, man, and we have to hope and believe this. I believe in the makeup of this team that these are things that they're going to be better for. I'm not down or out on Goff. I still believe in Jared Goff. I believe Jared Goff, again, is going to find himself in MVP-type conversations. And he's going to have to because next season's schedule is no joke at all.
And, guys, he's finna be here. So, you can hate on Goff all you want. Goff is going to be the quarterback. And for the length of his contract, the Lions Super Bowl window, at least to me,
oh, you said they're aligning it with Bryce Underwood?
Yeah. Fucking silly, man.
Hey, KG.
Go Blue.
Go ahead.
Nah, but I was just saying for the length of his contract, I consider us to be in a Super Bowl window. So, yes, he has to perform better, but by no means am I, throwing Jared Goff out. Yes, he does need to play better. I think we all know that. He knows that. But, he's going to be here, and fans have to accept that.
Yeah, and
they're not letting the interviews go.
Well, in
the chat,
that's fine, man.
Shelly,
it's ignorant to sit up here and say a 2-hour interview cost the Lions a football game.
She said, but they have 4 interviews each. That's a lot of prep too. That's Shelby Rice in the chat.
I understand that, but they spend weeks on these. They had 2 weeks to game plan. We talk about interviews. They had 2 fucking weeks to game plan. What are we talking about?
Well, and
that's true. They had an extra week.
Like, come on.
I appreciate.
And the Commanders is a team that they did not face. So, if anything, they would have game planned for the Commanders more than everybody else. So, I don't like that. That you got to – come on, man.
Let's get to the next segment because I know Flannel, save that take. Save the take.
We got to do better than that.
We do. JB
It's
Smooth,
an excuse.
What friends are we saying hello to?
1800 tequila, the best taste in tequila.
Lions fan.
Hey, if that's
Lions fans.
If that's how you had to drown your sorrows, I get it. I totally get it. I've been there before. But 800 tequila, it's the best taste of tequila. Even it is as smooth as can be. Even though I've done shots on air and I make my pain face afterwards, it's just because I'm kind of a bitch when it comes to hard liquor. I don't like it straight around the rocks. I just don't. Call me soft, I don't care, but it's not an
Hey, look,
thank you.
long drink flannel is a vibe, though.
It is. But the point is that it is not an indictment on 1800 tequila. It's still the best that I've ever had, and you know what? They work with us, so you should support them if you choose to partake in some alcoholic beverages. It's 1800 tequila.
How do people feel about getting a Planet Fitness membership for $15 a month? How do they like working out in a clean and spacious gym that's filled with equipment for every workout? And how about free fitness training in the judgment-free zone that leaves them feeling energized all day long? Join Planet Fitness today with the free PF app, online or in club, and start getting that big fitness energy for $15 a month.
Big injuries, big news. Twice a week, Dr. Jeff Pierce from Michigan Sports and Spine joins Woodward Sports Network for the Injury Insider Report. Big D Energy Tuesdays at noon, and Ermanni and Edwards with Maz Thursdays at 3:30. Get expert analysis and in-depth breakdowns on the latest sports injuries from the man trusted by top athletes in the community, like D-Mac. Whether it's the Lions, Pistons, Tigers, or Red Wings, Dr. Pierce talks us through it all. Don't miss the Injury Insider Report with Dr. Jeff Pierce, your go-to source for understanding the impact of injuries on the games and players we love. Only on Woodward Sports Network. Scan the QR code on the screen or go to Michigan Sports and Spine.
Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer, is kicking off the game with the best prices on all cars, trucks, and SUVs, like this 2024 Silverado for just $296 a month, or this 2025 Equinox for as low as $371 a month. Our locations in Novi, Highland, New Hudson, Livonia, and Lansing means we have the perfect Chevy right in your backyard. Get the home team advantage every day at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
Most talked about Detroit media by other Detroit media, and we love it. It's the Woodward Sports Network.
Hey, Jars Cannabis. You know what? It's the best place to get cannabis. And they got locations all over Metro Detroit, and you should try some. Jars Cannabis.
Welcome.
That was awful.
No way. Welcome back. It's Wake Up Woodward, man. Thank you guys for choosing to kick off today with the WUW Crew. We're live at Feldman Chevrolet of Novi, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. And what a day to be here. Maybe we can actually go cheer ourselves up by taking a spin in one of these vets, man. Hey, you know what? The service here, the experience here, it's awesome. They take care of you, and they got a lot of different options for you, from cars to financing. And like I said, it's just great people to work with. I know Flannel has a personal experience, and you know what? I've already kind of started some correspondence with potentially getting a 3-row here because, you know, I got 4 of them things. We got 4 little Kool-Aids at home. And for me, I am so glad we had yesterday because I needed to be with Queen Kool-Aid. But
Yes.
I am glad this, though. Seeing that loss, there was no way that I was going to be able to take that loss at home. Being with the crew, being with Woodward Sports, being with the fam, it made it a whole lot easy. Being right in the city, being in Gillies. We were there till, 2 a.m. or something, Stick?
Yeah.
That
Shout
to
out
me is
to
what
Gillies.
matters. Because before you give that take, I just want to say shout out to people because Woodward Sports saw growth through this. It was insane. Our largest Stick, what was it? Our largest live show, one of our largest ever, 65. I know it's way up now. It was 68,000 at the time at the close of the show, live. And it's going up. The post game, 40,000 live, Stick. 40,000, 100,000 people, man, for the game and the post game. So shout out to Woodward Sports. Shout out to everybody that's doing a lot of work that made this go because it is the end of the Lions season. Shout out to the Commanders fans and all the Rivals fans that's been here because everything went up from the follows to the content that we're putting up to the content that we're doing right now. But people are still stuck on this interviews thing. But you know what? Maybe we'll revisit that because I know Flannel, you got a take on Jared.
No,
Goff.
I mean, I was just going to say that I'm glad you mentioned what you mentioned about KG, about Jared Goff is going to be here because I think sometimes, although I'm not seeing it as bad today because, you lose in a divisional round playoff game. Things are different. If you say anything about Jared Goff, if I say that he choked, which I believe is factual, it's like, oh, so you want him gone? No. He's not going to be gone. He's under contract. He needs to play better next year in the playoffs. Obviously, he needs to play well in the regular season again so that they get to the playoffs, but you can't be one of the biggest reasons why your team wins 15 games in the regular season and then be one of the biggest reasons why your team loses in the playoffs. It's not something we should accept, but at the same time, we hope that when Jared Goff's story is written, this is just a footnote and not like a can't win a big game narrative. And it's up to him. It's up to him to write his own story.
And he's a big reason why we even got to this point.
Yeah.
So you got to give him respect for that. And ultimately, he needs to play better, but you got to call it. It is what it is, man. They lost this game a lot because of what Goff went in there and did. A couple of those interceptions were just god-awful, man. The pass to J-Mo, the overthrow to St. Brown. I mean, you just can't do that in a divisional round playoff game with everything on the line. But do I have confidence in Jared Goff to go back to the drawing board and get this thing together? Absolutely, I do. It's what you're paying him to do. So we have to see it. There is no choice. There's no opinion. He has to be better, like flat out.
And you know what? When we go back to the question of the day that we started off with the chat, does this cast any doubt on your Super Bowl expectations for the Detroit Lions in this regime? Where my mind instantly goes is Jared Goff. When you talk about Brad Holmes, I have no worries. Dan Campbell, there's questions there. People want to see who he's going to be without Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, but I have less questions there because we've only seen Dan Campbell in 4 years pick the right coordinators. Make the right changes. I'm not worried about him as a manager of this football team. Even overcoming injuries. Think about this. I don't believe we'll ever see, and I will knock on whatever wood I can find, another season where we lose this many people. But if we do, I am comfortable with him as our head coach and our leader of men.
Absolutely.
So from that standpoint, I'm good. Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, they're not going to be here. So when you talk about the Super Bowl expected window and the leaders that are currently here, Jared Goff is the one that is fully in the spotlight for me. And that's one where he had a bad game. Last year he played clean football, and he was a part of the reason why we had an opportunity to go to a Super Bowl. And this season is the reason why you got to say, you know what? Regardless of the situations that you think Ben Johnson placed you in, one of the things we talked about this season was that Jared Goff has the opportunity at the line of scrimmage to also say what he thinks would work best and put the team in that position.
Yeah.
If I'm Jared Goff in that position in the playoffs, there's no way. Wait, what? You want me to motion David Montgomery out wide? Hell no. And especially when you know who the target is going to be on. And if Ben Johnson takes a head coaching job, he's not even going to take the flag for it. So if I'm Jared Goff and you talk about MVP conversations and the things that they talk about, he has the decisions to go up there and people ask him about the kill. That's where in those moments I expect Jared Goff to go and do what works. And in those moments, it just was like, goodness gracious. And when you couple that with the turnovers, they were backbreaking, and there were turnovers where it was just like, bro, Sam still was right there. Like, why?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It's bad decisions, but it's not like he didn't make good plays either. And going into next year, it is absolutely going to be imperative on him to even raise his level of play from what we saw this year, because the narrative, y'all know what the narrative is going to be, especially if Ben Johnson leaves. Oh, Ben Johnson made Jared Goff. Oh, Jared Goff can't do it without an amazing offensive coordinator and all these weapons. So for Jared Goff, you have to go out there and you have to elevate, bro. Like, the Lions, they absolutely need you. You are the leader of this offense, and you are going to be the person that we are going to be relying on for the next 2 to 3 years. So I would just urge him, and I'm sure he knows this, but he has to elevate even more than what we saw this year in the regular season and especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at. My faith in terms of who Jared Goff can be as a quarterback, that's not necessarily shaking. You got bad games. You have bad days. That game last night reminded me of kind of the sputtering of some of the offensive woes that they had in the beginning of the season, where timing just seemed to be off, where Jared Goff in the pocket just seemed to be a little bit more rattled or a little less poised than we're used to seeing. And that's what we were talking about to start the season. Oh, he got the bag, and now look at him. And then when week 5 hit, everyone was like, whoa, look at this offense go. And that's where, you know what, I'm just like, goodness gracious. There's so many things they could have done differently, and that's kind of the takeaway you get from Jared Goff at the podium. But I do believe in terms of this Super Bowl expected window, he is a quarterback you can win the Super Bowl with. I do expect Jared Goff to be a person who is more perfect more times than not. I do expect that we will see a game or two like this. It just so happened to coincide with probably one of the most important games. I don't know how you match it up with the NFC Championship game last year, but he played good last year. Yeah. But this one was, up to this point, number 1 seed, Super Bowl expectations. This meant a lot to the history of the Lions organization.
Well, and that's why, to go back to the original question, the question of the day, I don't have doubts that this team has the right stuff, the right makeup, the right from top down organizational competency to get to a Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl. Hell, you know what? I'm just going to say get to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. However, the one thing that concerns me is I think this season is a prime example of sometimes things just happened. I'm going to use this phrase that I've used a couple of times. The Lions got boned by the injury gods. It's not something that's typical of a team. It's something that they got worse than pretty much anybody in the NFL. I believe, and this isn't making excuses, this is me just like giving reasons, and who cares about ifs, but I'm just going to make this statement. I think that if Aiden Hutchinson, Carlton Davis, and Ali McNeil were healthy, that the Lions win the Super Bowl. But that doesn't matter because it didn't happen. And you never know what can happen next year, and you never know what's going to happen in terms of hiring new coordinators. What if the guy they get to replace Ben Johnson isn't good? What if the guy they get to replace Aaron Glenn isn't good? What if the guy they get to replace Aaron Glenn can't dial up game plans like he dialed up against the Vikings, facing a Sam Darnold who holds the ball too long and just going at him and blitzing him?
4 or 5 teams, 9 points or less this year.
And that's the thing. And I'm not saying they can't. I'm just saying they're probably going to lose a couple of coordinators, and things just happen. Hopefully next year they're more healthy, which I expect them to be, but you don't know who goes down. I don't even want to put any names out there in the open, but one of the most disastrous things happened this year, Aiden Hutchinson. I think ultimately it played a role in costing the Lions a Super Bowl. So you just never know. Yeah. That's why these seasons, that's why last year, that's why this year was so precious, and it's so disappointing.
Yeah, and I still see some people in the chat here. Jerry Miller says, the hate is crazy. JG got us here. QBs have bad playoff games. Let's get better. It's not hate. To analyze what went wrong in terms of the blame, that's something that you're going to do and assess. And you hope that Jared Goff is assessing this too. Jared Goff has talked about it, and he stated what he stated.
Yeah.
Yes, I do believe, hey, I wonder, if I don't have these turnovers, do we win this game? And it's measured when you state it that way because you don't want to take anything away from what the Commanders did as well. I could tell that in a statement, but if you read between the lines, he believes if he doesn't have the turnovers, this team wins the game. No matter what the calls or this, that, and the other, the one thing we know about those quarterbacks that we want Jared Goff to be compared to, when the MVP conversations and all that went down, what did we say about Josh Allen? My man was in our house playing backyard football. He just stepped up and he put it on him and he did his thing. And I do believe that Jared Goff has done that a lot of times. But in this game, he did not. And so in this game, he does have to be somebody who shoulders a lot of the blame. Yes. We'll get to our pie chart.
Yeah, we will.
We got to talk about Dan Campbell, but what's up, though?
But I don't like that comment because that, to me, is just small-minded thinking. We talk about Jared Goff as, and I'm sure you were one of those people who talked about him as an MVP candidate. People got mad at me in this here chat for putting him 2 or 3 and not putting him 1. And then he stinks it up in the playoffs, he chokes, and then you give he got us here, be grateful. That's not big boy organization thinking. No. That's Goff dick sucker at all costs thinking. That's what that is. And I'm not trying to go too hard at Goff because I expect him to bounce back in next year's playoffs should they get there. But this was an opportunity, and he failed. Failed, choked, any way you want to say it. If it were any other quarterback in the league, you would be saying the same thing. Even if it was Patrick Mahomes, who has 3 Super Bowl MVPs, and he put up a performance like that in the divisional playoffs, we would be pointing and laughing.
We were doing that last year when Brian Branch picked him off to win the game effectively.
And that, my point is that we have to hold Jared Goff to the standards at which he is talked about by us and which he played in the regular season.
So our narrative of fans of learning how to be a team that has Super Bowl expectations and a fan that's Super Bowl expectant is that. Hold your guys accountable. If I thought that Jared Goff was just a game manager, I would get up here and say Ben Johnson failed him. I would say different things, but I believe that he is legitimately a guy who deserved to be in the MVP conversations, and so I do believe you hold him to that standard. You hold him accountable.
Absolutely,
you don't hate on him. I don't think he's trash by any stretch of the imagination. I believe the Super Bowl window is still open because he is here. I do believe that. And Old Jarhead says it's not all on Goff either, but it starts with the QB. Does it start with the QB or does it start with the head coach? Dan Campbell took the blame on himself. We got to talk about that too.
Let's do it.
Hey,
High chart.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Hey, JB Smooth, what friends we saying? What up, though?
You said merch?
Merch?
Sure. You go to WSN.
I got my shirt. We still went undefeated in division. I still got the BTA shirt, man. Listen, guys, go into the shop and get that, man. It's beautiful.
They earn the right to have a shirt like that. So y'all know what it is, man. Go to WoodwardSports.com. Click that shop tab. We still got some of the hottest, freshest merch in the merch game right now. Listen, we know the Lions took a tough loss, bro, but you still need to support this team. Get out there. Get that Dan Campbell speech on their shirt. Why not? Get that belt-to-ass shirt. Why not? They earn that, man. But you want to go to WoodwardSports.com, click that shop tab, and just unlock a world of possibilities for all your Detroit sports teams. Hoodies, tees, hats, everything guaranteed to turn heads, but only if you go to WoodwardSports.com and click that shop tab.
Into any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men today. Open 7 days a week. Sit back, relax, and enjoy precision haircut, scalp massage, hot leather neck shave, and hot towel treatment from one of our talented stylists. Step up your game this season and take advantage of our $20 haircut special. Scan the QR code and get your coupon today. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, the ultimate haircut experience. Open 7 days a week. Walk-ins always welcome. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. It's wicked awesome.
No one gives away more cash and prizes than Woodward Sports. You don't believe us? Here's our latest $10,000 winner.
You guys posted, hey, if you guess all this stuff right, we'll give it's $10,000. I'm like, okay, well, why the hell not?
And the winning doesn't stop there. How about our Outkick Your Coverage winner?
I think you will. We got Tully, everybody. This guy's got a hot girl.
Bigger prizes, bigger giveaways, cash, merch, tickets, and more. All from the biggest sports network in Detroit. No one does it bigger and better than Woodward Sports. Make sure you're following, liking, subscribing on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube for your chances to share in the winning. From Detroit's #1 sports network, Woodward Sports.
Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer, is kicking off the game with the best prices on all cars, trucks, and SUVs, like this 2024 Silverado for just $296 a month, or this 2025 Equinox for as low as $371 a month. Our locations in Novi, Highland, New Hudson, Livonia, and Lansing means we have the perfect Chevy right in your backyard. Get the home team advantage every day at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
The draft experience was shitty.
My high school dating experience was shitty.
I can tell you all 16 receivers and where they went to college.
I can tell you every girl that put me in the friend zone, every girl that shot me down, what grade it was, and what she said to me. Sarah Williams, freshman year at a house party, says, quote, I want to be single. Got a boyfriend the next day. Beth Samuel, junior year, I got benched during a football game. Afterwards, she came up to me and said, I want to date a starter. Kelsey McFarland, 10th grade, I took her to dinner, paid for dinner, and she told me I was the best guy friend
I've ever had.
Rachel Fletcher, took her to a party with my friend. She said, I like you,
but I like your friend better.
That was in 12th grade. Emily Westfall, senior year, I asked her to go to prom with me. She said, quote, sorry, I already have a date. She didn't even go to prom. Tanya Allen, Heather Talbert, Lindsey Turner, Leslie Frazier. It's okay, though, because now, here I am, working at Woodward Sports. They all got fat after high school, and the only thing I want back are my hoodies.
Caesar Sportsbook, the best sportsbook on the market right now. And listen, man, you can get up to $1,000 back if your bet loses. Real easy, real simple. All you got to do is sign up, download the app, and use code Woodward1000, Woodward1000, and place a minimum $20 bet. And if that bet loses, you get that money right back. But you're not going to lose, right? Because you know what you're doing on the Caesar Sportsbook app. So go ahead, Woodward1000, use that code, get on there now, and place your bets today. It is Caesar's Sportsbook. And while you enjoying perusing the Sportsbook, why don't you drink a little bit? Are we doing another read? Oh, okay, yeah. Why don't you drink a little bit, man? Listen, New Holland Brewing Company, one of our great sponsors here at Woodward Sports, is here to tell you about their latest and greatest drink. It is the Tangerine Space Machine, and this is something that I love. We was at Gillies, they had it on tap, and we had a great night, man, up until the Lions lost. But listen, if you need to drown your sorrows, do it with New Holland Brewing Company, man, and do it with that Tangerine Space Machine, the official beer of outer space.
What up, though, people? Welcome back to Wake Up Woodward. We're live at Feldman Chevrolet of Novi, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealership. It's your boy Brandon Dent, a.k.a. Detroit Kool-Aid, credential Pistons reporter and writer for the network. Shout out to those 500 Pistons that got a game tonight. Flannel Sam Reynolds, the vet of the squad, vet of the network, got the J-Mo jersey on. He's a man of his word, man. Right. This is a man of class. This is a man of dignity. Flannel Sam, welcome back, brother. We got Stick, the godfather of Woodward Sports, in the building. We have KG, Detroit's #1 draft pick on the ones and twos. Woodward Sports MVP JB Smooth is holding it down in the TD space. And you know what, man? Alex Gibbs, this guy, these are the ones, like, to the Commanders fans that are just kind of thumping their chest about the game, I'm like, whatever, I see it. But this guy, y'all are going through it in your trailer parks in Detroit. And then, look at your city, it's destroyed. Do they not understand what Detroit is? Oh, and do you understand that several now of Detroit's icons, like the DIA in other areas, got 3-star Michelin rated?
Yeah.
One of only 10 cities. One of only 10 cities that has this distinct, honor. And the city's on a come up, man. I love the city. Stick, shout out to you, bro. He got us in the city for that game last night, and it was epic. He's been doing this since Woodward was a thing. We've been in the city. I tell them, I think we're in the city sometimes more than we're in the studio for our shows, bro. And it's beautiful.
We ain't got to explain shit to,
it's beautiful.
To
as our
teams
like have risen, as our city has risen, Woodward Sports has been right there, man. So it's dope. But we got to get into this pie chart. We got to get into the breakdown of who deserves the blame. You got some fans, a lot of people who believe Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn deserve a lot of blame for the game plan as well as the interviews. You got a lot of people who believe this thing mainly falls at the feet of Jared Goff. And then Dan Campbell stepped to the podium and said, no, this all belongs on me.
All right, so I'll give my personal pie chart. I'll break it up into 3. For this game specifically, I'm not talking about the season and why they didn't go to the Super Bowl. I'm talking this game. I put 60% on Jared Goff. He had such a dominant regular season, MVP talks, and then he comes up small in the biggest game of the season. You can't have it. If you had been told before the game that he would throw 3 interceptions, I would have told you were on drugs. But unfortunately, it happened. And like I said, 1 went back for 6. 1 took points directly off the board before halftime, which can't happen. It's just not good. Jared Goff was awful. He choked. I don't have to say that again. 20% goes to defensive injuries. I believe that if you had an Aleem, if you had an Aiden, you would have gotten more pressure on Jaden Daniels. You would have been able to maybe contain him a little bit more. You wouldn't have to bring so many blitzes. You maybe would have been able to adjust your coverages a little bit better. And if you had Carlton Davis, you would have your best cover corner out there to make sure so a guy like De'Ami Brown didn't go off, or maybe make that tackle on Terry McLaurin when he takes that screen pass. So defensive injuries, I think, for this game plays 20%. And then the other 20% goes to the coaching staff as a whole. You can point to mistakes by all of them. You can point to Dan Campbell not calling a timeout when they had 12 men on the field. You can point to Ben Johnson not committing enough to the run, calling that Jamison Williams reverse pass or whatever. And you can point to Aaron Glenn, I think, being a little bit stubborn and trying to win the game defensively his way, even though he didn't necessarily have the personnel to do so. So 60% Goff, 20% defensive injuries, and 20% coaching. Ooh. Coaching all-encompassing.
Man, and I do respect your take. I can't even put the injuries in it, man.
I hate to even break this down in a pie chart.
Yeah, but talk to me, man. Like, where you at with it? Because I was expecting a masterclass from Ben Johnson, but the health of the offense is where, for me, the bulk of it is at the feet of those two individuals. But then it's like that fourth down call, you don't call the timeout. That was such a pivotal play, man. You just expect Dan Campbell to call that timeout.
And to me, that's Dan Campbell's only real error, and it turned out to be one of the most important in the ball game. So while I don't put a majority of the blame on him, to me, in that moment, you have to step up as a head coach and call that timeout, no matter if they're trying to get the players off the field or not. You just cannot in that particular spot in the ball game, because when you watch the game back, they were still in this ball game up until the fourth quarter. And when that play happened, that was pretty much, all right, close down shop. The Lions lost momentum, and they just weren't the same from that point on forward. So I would give Jared Goff and the coordinators 75% of the blame in this one, just because from a defensive standpoint, yes, AG didn't have all the ingredients. I think we all know that. All season long, he hasn't really had all the ingredients, but you expect him to go out there and just have a better game plan. And I think at times he stuck to his guns when he didn't need to. I felt like at times that he needed to adjust, he didn't. There were some times where some of your defensive players in the secondary were out of position, and ultimately that cost the Lions trying to defend the Jaden Daniels in that offense. Ben Johnson, just from two play calls, really, man. That 3rd and 1 in the red zone, when you have an empty set, you got to run the ball there. Jahmyr Gibbs was absolutely gashing that Washington defensive line. I just don't – you had a chance to go up 14 and really take control of the game. So to call an empty set pass on 3rd and 1, I didn't necessarily agree with that. And like I said, the JMO pass – you can't call that at that moment of the game. And I understand the trick plays were working up until that point, but JMO, you got to blame him for throwing the pass. He shouldn't have threw the pass, but ultimately that play call in that spot was absolutely horrible. The other 25% I would put on Dan Campbell and the injuries, but that's how I break it down.
I agree with a lot more of that. Like, the bulk of it for me is going to be with Jared Goff and Ben Johnson. I thought that largely Aaron Glenn had a decent game plan, but there's only so many times you can try and confuse a team and have your way with them. And that's, to me, where when you look at the 5 turnovers, 3 of them that were largely, in my opinion, 4 of them that were largely consequential, 3 of those consequential ones by Jared Goff. The 5th one in the 4th by Jared Goff was at the end of the game, but those other 3, it put the defense in a position to where it was tough. What are you going to do at that point in time? Now you're facing Jaden Daniels again.
And they were bad interceptions, too. Like, we just got to be real about it.
Where points were going to be on the board.
Yeah.
Points were going to be on the board. Like, that's the tough one. That's what I said. These were swings. These weren't just turnovers and then your defense went back and got it back. These were turnovers in which they directly led to Commander scoring, because how many times can you ask the defense to try and force them to a punt or a field goal? I think they had 1 field goal and 1 punt in the game, the Commanders. Yeah. And so it's just like that, honestly, how many times can you ask to keep them that way? And we knew when we started counting possessions that this was going to be a possession game. We gave the Commanders, through their game plan, they took But we gave them too many opportunities to honestly play out the game plan that a lot of their observers thought they could. If you give Jaden Daniels the ball, he has an opportunity to extend the time of possession for his team. And that's where, when you talk about this offense, the game plan was always going to be, if you overcome the defense, this elite offense, the most elite unit on the team in terms of offensive line. I know they weren't completely healthy. Christian Mahogany was still the highest graded.
Yeah.
I believe Detroit Lion in that game.
Yeah. The offensive line didn't do Goff any favors either. Not to say that, it was all on them, but I understand why Penei Sewell went to the media and had those comments, because the offensive line didn't play well either.
I get you on that one. Yeah. I get you. But I put the bulk of it on Jared Goff, on Ben Johnson, but I'm not shaking about who he's going to be. And I see Steve O'Baby in the chat. Kool-Aid, coaches and offensive coordinators don't play the game. Players play the game. People can't defend a player that has a bad game.
Well, and that's why I put more on Goff. And I see I got to go at this guy because he's a respected member, but he's outing himself. Just a Fan is
what up, though, Just a Fan?
Breaking his neck trying to still just give Jared Goff fellatio on a day like today, which I think is unnecessary. Lions were down 3 when 12 defenders on the field. I guess that was Goff's fault too, right?
No,
I understand that Jared Goff, that was a bad play, the 12 men on the field. But you can't seriously defend Jared Goff after that game.
No.
You can't, say that, it wasn't so bad. Jared Goff was terrible. The 12 men was terrible. They were all bad. But Jared Goff turned the ball over 4 times. If you think that's acceptable, then you're delusional.
Okay.
And
all
you're
right. Here's it. Yep.
You knew it was coming eventually.
I know you're going to throw your hands up in the air because this logic's going to break your robot brain. But yes, turnovers are bad. Jared Goff did not play a good game. We can all admit that, right? We're all adults here. Are we playing adults? So how about Lamar Jackson? You going to make the same sign?
I mean, Lamar Jackson.
Okay, shut up.
Wait a minute.
Okay, no, you're not going to. So that's fine. That's fine. We know it. You're not holding people to the same standards. Let's talk about why I came over here, though. We're not going to talk about your lack of standards. What we're going to do is talk about that 4th down call with 12 men on the field. How much were the Lions down by at that point?
They were down by 3.
They were down by 3. If they get that ball back, do you feel that they have an opportunity to win the game?
I mean, you could say that based off of what their offense has done all year, based off how Goff had played that day.
And also they put up 31 points, so the offense did some things, correct?
Well, of course.
So you
have the ground.
You have your 4 turnovers, right? But you also have an opportunity to get the ball back, only being down 3.
Like the Texans,
to me, yes, 4 turnovers are bad, but if you still have an opportunity in that game to get the ball back and take the lead, what that does is it shows you those 4 turnovers hurt you in that moment, but this moment with the 12 men on the field, and the reason why it bothers me so much, and I'll keep going back to it, misassignments happen, missed blocks happen, holding calls happen, interceptions happen, fumbles happen. Those are all part of playing football, right? Those are, once the ball's snapped, things can happen on the field. Pre-snap penalties where you're giving up a free first down, that is not something that Dan Campbell Lions have been known for. That is what Jim Caldwell Lions were known for. Jim Caldwell would know how many people need to be on the field. Remember, he had 13 men on the field at one point
Jim
in
Caldwell
time.
was a very bad in-game manager.
That's why I think that is more egregious than in-game play, because that is a pure mental, that is pure communication, that is pure coaching. There's 75 coaches on the sideline. None of them could have called a timeout. There's 12 players on the field. None of them could have called a timeout. That's why that specific spot in that moment of the game, to me, means more than what led up to that spot. And that's the logic.
On that play, they did point out, because we talk about how uncharacteristic it was, and it's generally because we have a lot of Dan Campbell guys here, but on that play, there were 2 people on the field who had, I think, only seen like a few snaps up until that game, and they pointed out that there was confusion amongst there.
Yeah
ultimately, the buck stops with the coach being able to just blah, blah.
And that's why I think
timeout.
They probably should have recognized, hey, this is potentially the biggest play of the game. Even if they weren't specifically a line, they could have called timeout and maybe drawn up like a great defensive play. But you could feel the energy at that time in the game.
Yeah.
Like people were telling me in the stadium, like at that time in the game, you could sense that something big was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, we see the flag. We think it's a delay a game or a false start. It's like, oh, my God, they got to kick a field goal. It's only going to be 6 now. We're going to get the ball with a chance to score a touchdown. That's why, to me, that point in the game is the point I'm always going to go back to as the biggest play.
And true, but this is why it is nuanced, though, because if Jared Goff doesn't have those turnovers early, you're probably not even in that situation.
But you are with
I totally
a chance
agree.
to win.
You've heard me say that 4th and 2 was absolutely egregious, and that was the turning point in the game. But if Jared Goff does not have that bad pass to J-Mo, if Jared Goff just falls on the ball.
And that 4th and 2 is not as bad.
Yeah, that 3rd and 1, he could have easily just went to the ground with the ball. You saw the pressure coming.
I don't know why
tried
you
to make a
motion
play.
out Monty.
Yeah,
I have no.
He tried to do something that was uncharacteristic. So
I wonder who made that call.
That's what I would love to see the philosophy behind that with Ben Johnson. Like, why shift Monty out and eliminate any threat of the run? That you're just telling the defense we're passing here. That's what I do. But you know they're going to throw it on 4th down.
Yeah,
they're not assuming a fumble. I guess we know that. But I mean, there's a million things we could go back through in this game. But to me, the biggest mark is that 4th and 2.
See, and I don't hate your logic. I could also say, though, that I very much doubt that the Lions were going to stop the Commanders on 4th down anyway. The Commanders were in the red zone. But you know what? Maybe they do. My thing is that I think with people like you, Stick, and with people like Just a Fan, you're twisting yourself in knots to defend Jared Goff for no reason. Like, I get that the 4th and 2 was bad, but it's like, can't we just say that Jared Goff was awful? That Jared Goff...
Didn't I start out this whole thing by saying Goff was bad? Didn't I start out all of this?
You did.
You did.
Like, so what the hell are you talking about? This is why I hate the Goff haters.
I'm not a Goff hater.
Even if you say it, like, Goff didn't play a good game. They want to just keep hammering that like nothing else ever happened in that 60 minutes of football that could have potentially led to it.
But that's why
Goff haters are just fools.
I'm not a hater, though. I'm not a Goff hater, Stick. Why do you accuse me of being a Goff hater?
That's why we wanted to at least do the pie chart instead of just saying who was the reason why we lost. When you break it down this way, I felt like the conversation this morning has shown that the real reason why Goff gets at least some of the large portion of the responsibility from us is just because of who he's supposed to be as the MVP.
And that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. Hey, heavy lies the crowd, right?
Those turnovers came at very pivotal moments in that game.
So did that penalty. So did that penalty.
We're not trying to.
Said it. Heavy wears the crown.
Yeah.
You said it. And that's more or less where mine comes from.
We're not trying to argue Goff. Like, we
you aren't, but lots of people are, man.
Yeah,
like 42 Doug, a prime example. What was his tweet? I'll put a song out. But then the next morning, what did he put? Man. You know what? After thinking about it.
I went too hard, bro.
I went too hard.
Yeah,
and that's what I think a lot of people, like, your emotions get in your feels. You're letting one game dictate what you just witnessed over 18 weeks. Like, and that's the thing. You can't live in a vacuum. You can't.
You can't. But those 18 weeks led up to this moment, and he didn't show up.
Can we say, though,
that's all we're saying.
That with this team, with how Goff has elevated himself into where he had a season where he's an MVP candidate, starting with next year, I'm not going to say the regular season is irrelevant because you still got to get there, but Goff is elevating to that level at which how we talk about Lamar Jackson, how we talk about Josh Allen, how we talk about Joe Burrow, where your legacy is going to be made in the playoffs. At some point.
And what do we do that with? Only elite quarterbacks.
Well, and the thing is,
thank
like,
you.
But
it should be centered there.
But that's what I'm saying. You can't have it both ways. You can't say I'm going to hold him to elite standards, but he's not elite.
Well, that's
why we all have said effectively we believe that this is still the guy, and that's why we're holding him to this standard. I think what he's talking about.
Because if he's elite, you can't have a game like that. That's all we're saying.
And I want to be fair to it and put the context for the audience as well, because yes, we do a show, but we also run one of the baddest social media just organizations out there. What we do on social media it's insane, and a lot of that goes to the credit of our awesome team, from Travis to Justin to Easy to Chase and so many others, Noah and Ryan, that are doing a great job. Stick and I, we try to do what we do, but we see the numbers and we see the chats, and there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people who are saying exactly what he's saying. And it's like when I see it, I was like, man, that's what prompted me to say, let's kind of have this conversation, because the people online were largely split. Like 4,000 or 5,000 people were up to that point, and this isn't a matter of hours. 4,000 to 5,000 people were split is it on Jared Goff or not?
Well,
and a lot of people
he gets the majority though, because all those turnovers led to points.
But they were also
every
saying
single one of those turnovers.
But
because
he's
the
saying
defense couldn't get a stop.
And while
what's he supposed to
that
do?
is
Go
also,
out there and tackle too?
I understand that's also a factor. That's why I said it's nuanced.
But they were saying
he does get the
trash,
majority.
too, though. That's the other caveat.
That's the thing. He's
not
trash.
saying that. But what he's talking about in terms
Yeah,
of the
I'm not
whole
saying
spectrum
he's
of
trash
people,
at all.
They say he's trash.
And that's
not even close.
What was my tweet to the group last night before the Buffalo Ravens game? The tragic part about this game, one of these quarterbacks is going to be labeled as trash and can't get it done.
Yeah.
And that's the way I feel about Jared Goff. Like, sometimes it doesn't happen for good quarterbacks in big games. It doesn't happen. Does that mean that Josh Allen, if he loses next week to Pat Mahomes, is Josh Allen can't get it done? Is he a bad quarterback?
No.
Okay. Lamar Jackson.
He's a bad quarterback.
Is he,
I mean, he's
is
not
he
a bad
quarterback. Can't get it done because he lost to Josh Allen yesterday?
But
no. So
he might
let's,
not be able to
let's
get it
stay-
done.
So
but
let's
he's not a
stop
bad
holding.
quarterback.
If you're going to hold them to elite standards, you got to hold everybody to elite standards. Flannel.
I gave I think the most fair analysis at the beginning that when I talk about Jared Goff, when I talk about last season, and if you guys were listening, you already know, I give him no blame for what happened last year because he did his job. But for this season, he didn't. He came up small in the biggest game of the year, so I give him the majority of the blame for what happened in this game. It's not just that they lost, it's that he played so bad. It was shocking how bad he played. I mean, you would agree as somebody who's the leader of the
I don't
fan
think
club.
anybody woke up on Saturday morning and predicted Jared Goff having a 4-turnover game.
Absolutely
I don't think
not.
anybody
Nobody
did. And if you
So he
did,
was gonna
show
play
me your
clean
betting
at the very
slip.
least. I thought
As
if we
Neil
lost-
Rule says, show me you put money on it and you actually believed it.
I thought that we were going to get clean Goff. That's what I firmly believe.
I thought
that.
we were going to
And
just
it's
get a running game. Like, I thought it was just going to be.
We had one. They went away from it.
Yeah, that 14
And that's
carries
like a
for
historic-
Gibbs.
why Ben Johnson
Jahmyr
gets
Gibbs.
some of the blame.
But that's
Like,
why
the shit is nuanced.
Jared
bro.
Goff's supposed to call the plays, too?
You know what? Crazy Clown says that Flannel is not a Goff hater. He's just a Stafford lover.
Well, that's
Oh, that's
I saw that. That's not true.
We got to the bottom of it.
And
yo.
how'd Stafford do yesterday?
I mean, not well, but he did. He does have that ring as a starting quarterback, though. So
Off a team that Jared Goff built.
well, but like
Congrats.
you got to give Stafford credit, though.
Yeah.
You have to.
And I'll give Von Miller credit, and I'll give Odell Beckham Jr. credit,
Absolutely.
and I'll give Jalen Ramsey credit, and
Absolutely.
all the
Yeah,
other
they
free
went
agents they
ham.
brought in that year.
Absolutely.
If
but
the Lions
Stafford
do
played
that,
well.
But if the Lions do that this offseason, I do have a lot of faith in what Jared Goff can be. And that's where this is going to be a question all offseason because it is 4 turnovers. When you look at it in the grand scheme of the game, they still have opportunities to win that game, and we've seen him win it despite him making 2 or 3 or even 5 turnovers in the game. He did this against the Bears as well, where he went out and had a couple turnovers. I think a fumble and 2 interceptions. They still came back off of a couple back-to-back drives and won. And honestly, until it was over, until it was like the last 5 minutes, I still believe this team had a chance because of Jared Goff. Every time they got the ball back, I was like, all right, let's go. Why?
Yeah.
Because of who he is. And it just sucks that in this game, it just so happened to coincide with his rhythm being off, with him getting absolutely rocked by Louisville, who,
He should have got called for that. I didn't like that. You hit a quarterback on
That
the
was
chin
rough.
like that. That's a flag, bro.
especially when they flagged
That's a
the
flag.
Lions for hitting Jaden Daniels, who is who's acting as a runner and a blocker for
Right.
the runner.
And you can argue they got away because Meek got hit in the head too.
Yeah,
so
he
I mean,
did.
you can argue that
Yep.
too. But
I understand that, but like
I'm not using it as an excuse. I'm just saying. But
and I'm a Lions fan, but like I give quarterbacks way less sympathy who are trying to tackle a player after they made the bad mistake. It's a different situation. And even if he gets called, Jaden Daniels going to put the ball in the end zone. They're going to get the ball at like what, the 17 or the 18 in the red zone.
yeah.
So
I mean,
I get it philosophically.
We don't know, but
We
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
But just based off of what we saw from that game, the Lions couldn't. Jaden Daniels he had one of the more impressive divisional round performances by any quarterback I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and I get it.
absolutely
I'm close to it because it's going against the Lions. But Jaden Daniels, and this is another thing that I think might ruffle some feathers, and I don't care. And I just might drop this bomb right before the show's over. I think Jaden Daniels is officially now the best quarterback in the NFC.
Oh,
damn.
And I don't think that's controversial.
All right, I got to see him do a
I
little
need
bit
to see
more.
the rest of this
If
run
you're telling me,
before I say that. but-
especially if you say that if our defense was better, that you think there's a different result. I gotta kind of see what he does from here because I do believe that as much credit as they deserve, There is so much more we could point to that the Lions just did wrong.
Well, the thing is, there's a reason I bring up the NFC. Most of the best quarterbacks in the league are in the AFC. Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar Jackson. In the NFC, it obviously was Goff, but you're going to get dinged a little bit for this performance. And Jaden Daniels, in his first season, he has a 100 passer rating. In his first 2 playoff games, which are wins on the road, he has a 100 passer rating in both of them. I think that right now he's got the crown. I don't think it's Jalen Hurts. I don't think that you can say that it's Matthew Stafford. I don't even know who else would be in the running at this point. I mean, Jared Goff is probably second right now, but I think it's Jaden Daniels.
I'm not ready to do that just
Crazy
yet.
Clown said, "Don't Jordan Love him already." Look,
No. Jordan Love was not as good as Jaden Daniels was in his first year. Jaden Daniels was a legitimate MVP candidate. Jaden Daniels, in his first 2 MFR, not 1 playoff games, went on the road and posted a 100 or higher passer rating. If you think Jaden, and by the way, Jordan Love's wasn't even bad this year. He just took a little step back. It's not like he's trash. He's just not.
I don't think he's trash, but I never believed that Jordan Love was going to be that guy. I did believe that Jaden Daniels was going to be that guy.
Yeah, we just need to slow down just a little bit because we need to see how the rest of this run goes, 1. 2, we need to see how he looks next year because we all did the same thing last year with C.J. Stroud, and you saw how that worked out. We were calling him the best rookie last year. Oh, look at the season he's having. Oh, he won a playoff game. So I'm not ready to hop on that bandwagon just yet. I will give Jaden Daniels credit for ascending very quickly to the top of the NFC in terms of quarterbacks. I'm not ready to put him at number 1
Can I say this, though? I think the reports on C.J. Stroud's downfall are a little bit exaggerated. Did he have a sophomore slump a little bit?
That too.
Absolutely he did.
There's film on him, and I know that there's going to be people who give film on Jaden Daniels as well.
He didn't have the worst season, but it was by far not what it was that rookie year.
But I will say this, and he benefited heavily from being in a weak division. He goes into the wild card round and thoroughly outplays Justin Herbert. Speaking of guys who choked, I got to wear that as a Justin Herbert supporter. He was awful. He was awful, and he's got major allegations to account for. But C.J. Stroud,
we've done this before. Is all I'm saying.
I understand, but am I insane for what I said, or do I like Jaden Daniels is and the NFC quarterback class is weak overall. It just is.
It is. But I can't put him over Jared Goff, who's accomplished a lot more in his career to this point. That's all I'm saying. I do understand he takes a hit for this playoff victory. I mean, for this playoff loss. But overall, Jared Goff has been consistent, the best quarterback in the NFC for the last 2 to 3 years now. That's all I'm saying. So I just can't give Jaden Daniels that crown off for 1 good playoff run that we haven't even seen the end of yet.
Yeah.
We haven't even seen the end of it yet.
I tipped the cap.
If he wins the Super Bowl, we can reapproach it. We can reapproach that conversation.
Yeah, he is special.
I think if they beat the Eagles, it's like no doubt.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. I'm just not ready to hop on that just yet. Pause.
Not just yet, man. I believe that Jaden Daniels is special. I'm going to continue to say it. I thought he was going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year and make the Commanders, I thought, one of those teams that could battle for a wild card spot. And he just ascended very, very quickly. But as Flannel pointed out earlier in the show, it wasn't just about him. That defense had 5 turnovers. No matter whose fault it is, the Commanders' defense had 5 takeaways, man. So it's just like they had some help. They had a game plan where some of those players who we believed weren't going to even be factors, like a Lattimore, you look at the stats, and Lattimore was a factor, including 4 pass breakups of a team that we're used to seeing catch the ball.
Yeah.
I'm used to seeing our guys catch the ball. I'm used to seeing the timing and the rhythm being on point, and they just look a little sped up out there. And that
they were pressing after a certain point. After that 10-point gap, they were pressing.
They were. And that's why I say, you know what? Hey, we tipped the cap, but just when you look at some of these teams and some of these players that do kind of take that step back, think about it. I mean, even Sam Darnold, how quickly are people always trying to crown? And I believe that Jaden Daniels is a far more special player than him, but it's just how the narrative goes. It's just let him continue to ascend.
I understand. My thing, too, is also that there was some symbolism in what went down as well. That, he comes into the current king of the NFC's house and badly outplays him. And I get it. He's a rookie. He's got to obviously do more. I like and I know this is something you can't really quantify. I think Jaden Daniels is made of the right stuff. The way that he was so poised on the road.
Totally
agree. That
totally
some of those blitzes were really tough, I think. Like some rookie quarterbacks or some even veteran quarterbacks would have been rattled, like we saw with Sam Darnold the previous week. But Jaden Daniels would just stand in there and deliver like perfect passes on big plays, like fourth downs.
And he's been good against the blitz all year.
Yes,
Kool-Aid, we talked about it this week. I told you AG got to disguise it. You can't just come straight out with it because his numbers against the blitz were very, very good. And we got killed. You know,
in the breakdowns from NFL analysts, they stated he recognized those blitz, that they saw it, that he was before the read.
Tom Brady mentioned it. They're not going to switch up. Why do they keep doing the same thing?
Yeah,
I mean, Brady was trying to help the coaching staff.
I mean, but you can't just let him pick you apart either, because like I say, he didn't necessarily kill you with his legs. He killed you with his arm and his accuracy.
51 rushing yards.
A little bit with the legs.
Question
yeah,
for
51 rushing yards with 3.5 yards per carry, 17 carries.
He
like,
used
come on.
the feet, though, to make some of those
to get
passes,
out, to extend plays, yes. Yeah. But he killed you with his arm.
I got one question for Flannel.
Yes.
What up, though?
Your evaluation of rookie talent like Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
But you're sitting here wearing a jersey because of your evaluation of rookie talent.
Hey, I will say,
Stick is just like the Terminator, bro. He just do not stop. He don't keep coming, dog.
Can I just say this? Let me just say this.
He will not be denied.
My irritation with the cult of JMO, who are now justified. He got his 1,000 yards. I'm wearing his jersey. I pay my bets. Were the people who crowned him for a rookie season in which he had 2 touches for 82 yards. And all I wanted to say was like, okay, I know he was hurt. I know that he looked good when he touched the ball, but it's like people just got into like this parental like defense of their boy JMO from that season. That's where it all came from. I don't dislike JMO. In fact, I'm happy he got 1,000 yards. I think it was one of a big reason why they won 15 games. I'm happy with the touchdown that he had on that end around when Teddy Bridgewater was in. I think if they would have won the game, that would have been one of those really symbolic, like we looked like it was down, Bridgewater was in, but he kind of saved it. It's the fans, man.
But you can't be mad at people for having a parental kind of fandom for him.
Yeah.
When you literally got godsons. Literally. Like Aiden Hutchinson.
You might have a point there, buddy.
Good one.
We defended JMO because you needed to give him a chance. We just wanted people to give him a chance. That's it, man.
Kool-Aid, I hate it when you make good points.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Flannel, dog.
Yeah.
I realize we blew through a lot. Are there some people we need to say hello to, JB Smooth?
Or do we?
No, we don't.
Yeah, we good. We coasting, man. We coasting.
Goodness.
Man.
What a show. And we are back in studio, but I know what a lot of people are waiting for.
Yeah, oh, yeah, Neil. Hey, I was talking to Neil. I was talking to Neil at the watch party, man, and trust me, he's prepared. Good, bad, or indifferent, that man is going to be prepared. So be prepared to be upset in the chat. Be prepared. You know, he going to give you that tone regardless. But, I mean, overall, I just look at, for as amazing of a season as this was, it sucks that it had to end so early. And I do think going forward that this Lions regime, they have some questions to answer. I mean, just getting to, what it's going to look like. You got a lot of players that are up to be free agents. You have the possibility of losing not one but 2 of your coordinators.
$54 million cap space.
Yeah. So I think Brad Holmes, for all the great he's done, I don't think he's irresolved of some blame here. I do think they need to get a difference maker on defense in order to help push this thing along forward. And I'm interested to see how they attack this offseason because he's attacked the defense before. He improved the secondary this last season. I'm interested to see what he does with the defensive line and things of that nature. But they got some questions to answer. They got to go back to the drawing board, and hopefully they can come back next year.
If they do lose the
right
coordinators, they do get extra draft compensation. I know if they lose Aaron Glenn, it was already reported that they will get 2 third-round draft picks. They don't have currently a third-round draft pick. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
He said fine. And Ben Johnson as well. There will be compensatory picks for them. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this goes.
True.
Because they do need a third-round pick.
And Brad, I'm not worried about Brad Holmes in terms of draft, but in terms of free agency acquisition, that's something that, he's been good. He's been okay. I need to see him be a little better at that point. But drafting, I'm not worried about.
I will say this, though, and this is something Stick said on the post game, a rare time we agree. the biggest free agent acquisition is Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Even if you don't address the D line adequately in a way that some people are satisfied, if you have a healthy Aiden, if you have a healthy Zadarius Smith, if you got Aleem, if you got DJ Reader, probably let Levi O go. But
yeah,
that's the makings of a dominant defensive line.
No,
Aiden
for
Hutchinson might go in next year as the best defensive player in football. Obviously, he has to prove it.
And
more.
he has a bookend now. You have Zadarius Smith
Exactly.
already
Yes.
here
Yes.
with Aleem McNeil coming back. Josh Pascal took some steps forward.
He did.
I'm bullish about them, and I see some people there. They're like, no, we need to get faster linebackers. We need this, we need that. Look, we're gonna definitely get into all of that.
Yeah.
We're gonna. We got a whole kind of
we
this
got a
offseason
whole
to get
year.
into that.
But just speaking from today, they got some things to figure out.
That's fair.
Especially if you want to get back to this spot next season. It's not going to be easy. It's not.
And the thing about Aiden, too, which I think is really promising, is that I don't know if it actually would have happened, but he was trying to potentially come back for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
What that means is that this injury was not so severe that it's going to affect his off-season work. He's not going to be spending it rehabbing, so he should be back.
Training camp day one, he should be ready to go.
Yes.
I fully expect that.
Yep. And I see people here. Aiden Hutchinson will be healthy next season. That's from Mojo Baby. Weezy D through and through. Zadarius, he thinks Zadarius got to go. I just don't understand that.
What?
I don't understand. Zadarius was one of the highest graded, Lions defensive players when he got here.
And he was
from a lineman perspective.
He was a net positive. He added pressure. He gave you, of course, he wasn't going to be Hutch, but he gave you some of that. He was able to pressure the quarterback. He had 5 sacks coming to this team. He finished with 9, I believe, and he was there. But it's hard when he's the sole player that other teams key on. So I thought that was a big part of it too. He was your best pass rusher, and other offenses know that, so they took him out of the game effectively.
You know what? Save some of those takes. We need a segment, maybe 2, where we talk about the fallout directly from this game. What are our initial reactions to the fallout to this game? Because I didn't know people felt like that.
Yeah, there's been some people along the way.
Man,
but you just haven't been paying
serious?
attention. I understand he hasn't made every single play on the field, but
look
for
at the
what
line
you traded
that he was
for,
out there with, though.
Exactly. What you traded for, the capital that you gave up, he was a net positive for this fucking team.
It was always
not even close.
And knowing that he was already going to be here next year, it was also for the future.
Exactly.
To know you have a bookend. He was never supposed to be when he was brought in, he was to be a stopgap alongside a pretty healthy line, because you knew who we thought was going to eat. We thought Aleem McNeil was going to be the one to benefit from the fact that you got a DJ Reader and a Zadarius. And we thought, you know what, can he take that next step up, even though from the interior a little bit, can he take that next step up with the just the attention that Reader was going to have and the pressure that Zadarius Smith is going to have? Can Aleem get home? And Aleem got injured.
Right. I tell you what, I take Zadarius over Marcus Davenport, and that's no disrespect to him. He got hurt early, but in terms of just, edge rushers and the way he played, I absolutely would want Zadarius back. He's going to be back.
It's funny.
He's going to be
back. Muhammad,
yes.
We got a lot. Man,
we
got a week.
It's funny because the King Zadarius Smith hater in the chat, Weezy D313, he does say something that I kind of agree with at the end.
I see it.
He said, not the Muhammad one.
A different one.
Dorrance Armstrong is better than Zadarius Smith. I'll give you that.
Sure.
I think they're very comparable, but I'll give you that.
But that's not to say Z is bad.
Dorrance
He's not
Armstrong
bad.
was made 2 of the biggest plays of the game for the Commanders. He was great that game.
You know what? Get it ready, man. Get the let's get that ready. I want to talk about the fallout from these things. Right. The initial.
Weezy D313, Marcus Davenport is a better player, sure, but if he's not on the field, how is that helping me?
He's not.
How is that fucking helping me?
We got to talk about it, though, because Muhammad,
we
got some things to talk about, man. I like this, man, but man, what a show.
Yeah, no,
what a show. And I know the people are 50 minutes away from hearing Neil eat crow. He said he's going to be here.
Eat some crow, dude. He was responsible.
I'm telling
he
y'all.
was personally responsible for some of those what I deem to be ludicrous ass thumbnail titles. No disrespect, Noah.
No,
it was because of what that
Noah,
Neil
bro.
said.
I mean, the desire,
but it's part of the game, bro. Like
I understand.
It's part of the game.
All I'm saying is that Commander fans looked at that and now can be like,
That's
maybe
true,
you should
but
simmer down a little bit in the week leading up.
Or maybe you should watch our fucking content, because if you actually watch the content, you will see that we weren't shitting on the Commanders
You
by
guys
any
know.
stretch of the
Neil
imagination.
Rule was.
Well,
We
true,
weren't-
but I can't speak for Neil.
We weren't crapping on
He's
him.
the golden voice. He got himself.
We
so
even distinctly stated, like, we believe the Commanders are really good. We
Yes.
just believe in the pedigree of what the Lions were. They had a day.
Hey. Neil's our teammate. Neil's our brother. What he says is bond. I don't care if he offended your soft ass.
He a grown
Deal
man.
with it
He
at
can
11
handle it.
a.m. That's why we're here. He'll take the heat. But I don't want any show being like, oh, we're separating from Neil Rule. No, Neil's a dog.
No,
Neil's
but-
our guy. We're not separating.
But this is why I said
had an
he his
opinion.
own man.
You didn't
He'll
like
be-
it.
He gonna.
No, I'm not separating.
Nope. Don't separate
every-
yourself, guys.
Every single host here,
Because I jump on
I ride
Flannel
for.
Sam shitty takes all the time.
Every-
I jump on Kool-Aid stuff. Like, come on, man. Come on.
So have you not?
You know how much I have to pay the piper for what y'all say on this network?
I was gonna.
You know how much
say
I'm
that.
held accountable for every word that comes out of 24 people's mouths?
I get it.
I mean-
all I'm saying is that
It's wild.
It ain't just us.
But
You
I
pretty
get it, though.
outspoken
You-
yourself.
Oh, you're damn right.
You
But-
pretty outspoken
You're
your
damn
damn
right.
self.
And I'll take my heat, but I got to take 24 other heats, too.
It's not separating. It's just making sure people know, because, to be fair, there was at least 100 people like, where's Neil? Where's
No,
Neil?
but trust me.
Oh, y'all this and I'm like, wait, I picked Jaden Daniels to be offensive rookie
Yes,
of the year
yeah.
and to be a player that was going to elevate this team. I talked about Mikey Sanderson. We talked about them. When Chase said that they were going to be, shout out to Chase, what they were, it was just like, whoa, what? No, I think that they're one of those next ups.
That was not a good take by
No.
Chase.
I
It
love
was
Chase.
not. We
Shout
knew
out
it was
GPT.
bad at the time, but it's really bad
well,
now.
the thing is,
Jesus.
and here's the thing. Respect to Chase.
No, big fact.
Shout out
we
to Neil,
love
our
Chase.
president, dog.
Respect to
Salute
Chase.
But we knew
Neil.
that shit was bad when he said it.
The
Like,
thing, the thing though is, and I've been guilty of this too. He was looking way too deep. He was going from like the ownership and their tendencies, and sometimes you get that take and you strike gold. And I think that's what Chase was going for. And
Yeah.
he got it wrong. He admitted it. Shout out to Chase. Sometimes you're wrong. I'm wrong all the time.
Hey, you know what? Incog
That's the
Jr.
jersey.
Incog Jr.
Fair.
said Sam.
Fair.
He said Sam Flannel is an elite football mind. I've seen it today. Welcome back,
Thank you.
Flannel.
Shout out.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir.
I do my best.
Welcome back. Hey, you know what, man? I think that's a show.
think
Yes.
so, man.
Hey, listen, this Wake Up Woodward live at Feldman Chevrolet of Novi. It is Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. You talk about winners, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. They're about to be the winner again, man. This is Feldman Chevrolet of Novi. And Flannel, I know that you got experience here. I know Neil and other people have had an opportunity to come here and be treated right by the good people. Make sure that you guys, if you're looking for that next car, make sure that you think Feldman Chevrolet of Novi first. But welcome back again to our guy, Flannel Sam. Shout out to our brother, Matthew Broder, that dude, Justin. We'll get this thing broken down on the ones and twos. We got KG, Detroit's #1 draft pick. What up, though?
I mean, I think it's clear I'm still hurting over here. Like, I'm
hurt.
not in a good mood talking this shit, but it is what it is. I believe in this team going forward, bro, but I got to shout out my team. Good to have you back, Sam. We are so happy to have you back. And
Good to be back.
Yeah, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat, Commanders fans included, bro. We appreciate y'all engaging with our content. And, you know, it's gamesmanship, bro. But y'all came in there, y'all did the damn thing, so you ain't going to get a word out of me. You shut me the fuck up for the rest of the season. So it is what it is.
I'll still chirp.
I mean, it is what it is. But y'all earned the right. Y'all came in the Ford Field. Y'all beat the #1 seed. You earned the right.
It's a little
You
more
earned the right.
personal for me, man.
I
It's a
get
little
you.
more- I got
I get
family
you.
there.
I
Like,
got you. I
sheesh.
got you.
JB Smooth, Woodward Sports MVP in the TD space.
Jay Bizzle.
Man.
Working hard. Silently working hard over here.
Shout out to Stick as well. JB's just over there just.
I'm just chuckling over here. Like I said, I'm still hurt, but you know I'm still here. We showed up today. That's all I can say.
Hey, and thank you guys for being here. There's been a lot of people, whether you are fans of the Lions or not. We appreciate you guys being here. We appreciate the banter. We appreciate the trolling. We appreciate all the comments and all the chats. Go ahead and smash that like button if you didn't get an opportunity. It goes a long way. This thing started as a grassroots idea, and it's evolved into something so big for the fans and even for our rival fans. So it goes a long way. Stay tapped in. This right here, though, Flannel Sam, the vet of the squad, the vet of the network. Glad to have you back. What up, though, Flannel Sam? Great show.
I hope you guys know in the chat that today, even though it was under not great circumstances and I was, miserable like everybody, hurting like everybody, this what we did today was fun for me.
Yeah,
because
I
we got to
needed this
talk
for
it
sure.
out.
We got to. This was therapy.
Yes.
That was one thing I know you were ready to do this
Yes,
today, and
I
I'm
was.
I'm still glad to see that smile because obviously in our regular lives we know what the deals are, man. It's this is the grind, and it's what we signed up for. Glad to have you back, man. It's your boy Brandon Dent, aka Detroit Kool-Aid, your credentialed Pistons reporter and writer for the network. It's been a show. We wish it was a victory show. We had a lot of those this season. But you know what? It's time to get back to the groundwork, and I know these Lions are going to be better for it. Thank you guys for rocking out with us. We got a whole week of content planned for you guys. Hey, stay tapped in.
Yeah.
Big D Energy is on the way.
Rasidi, you trash. Chill on my boy.